Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. In this episode, we will be discussing the San Diego Comic-Con 2022 and all the exciting details from that, plus Nope. Let's get on with the show. My name's Aaron Peterson. Joining me today, my fellow host, John Davenport.
Hey, buddy. How you doing today?
I'm excited. Amanda Sink.
Just kidding. I'm here. Hello. hello.
Troy Heinrichs.
I don't know how to follow that up.
I don't
I'm just
either.
Speechless.
That I'm here.
Yeah.
That you're here.
That I showed up and I showed up on time.
She's just going to keep on saying that all freaking night.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. I was early, John.
Jesus Christ.
That's
You're one of those people. I've never been on time for anything, but I showed up early this time, so I'm going to mention that I was early that one day.
right. The
July,
bar is
blah, blah,
Okay.
blah, blah,
so
blah.
freaking low.
You weren't early.
guys.
You were on time. We discussed this. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late.
No, I was early. I was here before 6 o'clock. I was ready to go at 6 o'clock. We were waiting on you, Troy, to eat your dinner while we were podcasting.
Oh, now she's throwing shade at you. Look at that. Look
But
at
I
that.
did used
Mr.
to
Reliable.
be on time occasionally. So it's not like this is
What?
like completely new. I did used to be on time occasionally.
This is going to sound like me hanging up now.
Because you're always late. So I knew you weren't going to
No.
be here, so I just ate dinner.
I was on time.
I can't fault them.
No, I mean, you're right. I get it, but just not today. And yes, there is a bet. We expect Nate Bruce to head it up and collect the bets.
That you're going to be on time 4 weeks in a row.
That I'm going to be on time 4 weeks in a row, or that Johnny is going to leave his North Carolina cave to go see a movie in a movie theater.
And we figured out that you have 22 weeks and 6 days to beat me at this bet.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least.
Yeah.
Unless some freak accident happens like
John,
landing
where do
in
you
a
want me to
movie
PayPal the money to? I mean, just your... do you get like a specific address?
That's rude.
theater. You know what it is.
Hey, guess what? So this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about San Diego Comic-Con. It's live for the first time in like 3 years. And about midway through the episode, we're going to get a report from Kyle Nolan from NoReruns.net. He's been on the show many times before, but whenever he goes to Comic-Con, he kind of reports back. I was not able to go this year. I haven't been in a few years, honestly, but it's nice to get a feel for what the convention is like now that people are back in force. You know, it's just something to behold. And this was the first year in a long time we've got like a lot of exciting news out of it because it's been online the last couple of years. It hasn't been really that exciting. Marvel unleashed like just everything about phase 5 and 6. We'll definitely be talking about that. Everybody has a little bit of something, and we're going to break it into everybody's own little panel. And Kyle will be somewhere in the middle. Okay. And then at the end of the episode, we're going to talk about Nope. Because Troy and I saw Nope. We want to talk about Jordan Peele's latest movie where he proves once again, apparently, according to the internet, that he might be the greatest horror director of all time. And I just say, slow down, internet. Slow down.
He even said slow down.
He did. He did. I mean, can't you just be very good? Can you just be very good? Do you always have to be the best ever whenever something comes out?
I don't know. Ask Troy.
Yeah, Amanda, let's ask Troy. Troy, what do you think?
I mean, if you strive for perfection, you will always achieve excellence.
Yeah.
John, I was throwing the shade to Troy because I feel like he thinks that he's like up here.
Well, that's because Troy is somewhere up there in his dreams.
In his dreams.
But I was also reverting
know.
the shade right back at you
I know.
because somebody has said some very special words that don't need to be mentioned again.
About Jordan Peele being the greatest
About
filmmaker
Jordan
of all
Peele?
time.
Not the greatest of all time.
Of current time?
Of our generation.
Of our generation.
Of our
That's
generation.
right. Of our generation.
Right next to the Christopher Robin Winnie the Pooh movie.
Look,
Right.
don't shit on my Christopher Robin movie. That's a good movie.
It was a 10.
It's a 10 out of 10.
It was
It's
a
a 10
10.
out of 10.
Jesus. All right. Well, Troy, let's start with you. What happened at San Diego Comic-Con that you think is worth talking about?
Well, everybody was waiting for Hall H on Friday, where Lord of the Rings of Power, was going to drop for Amazon Prime with their new trailer, and it was amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff.
If the teasers and build for the Ring of Power haven't been enough, we basically saw Harfoots, we saw dwarves, we saw elves, we saw all kinds of things, and it's just been nuts. I mean, it's $1 billion spectacle for the first season. We've revealed cast photos, 22 posters of all of the characters that you're going to see in this first season. You're going to basically have to get out those Game of Thrones diagrams to keep track of who's who and the show goes on the air. You're going to get to see young Elrond. You're going to see young Galadriel. You're going to see King Isildur himself. The over 3-minute long trailer showcased our first looks at Numenor, the half-elf, half-human island kingdom that's never before been seen and only mentioned in text. And we'll also get to see what happens after the wars of the First Age, because this entire show is taking place in the peacetime during the Second Age before things get freaky.
That's, if I'm not mistaken, that's like thousands of years before The Hobbit. And Lord of the
each
Rings,
age
right?
is like 1,000. Yeah.
Okay.
And then fans were also treated to clips, like individual clips of the show during the Hall H presentation, where you got to see Prince Durin IV, who is said in the texts to be one of the 6 reincarnations of the original King Durin. He was the one that created Khazad-dûm, also known as the Mines of Moria, as we know it today. So we'll actually get to see Moria in its glory years. And the Balrog also made an appearance, which was awesome.
Nice comeback. All right. Haven't seen him in a bit.
We also see the Harfoots, Poppy and Nori in a segment. The Harfoots are actually the ancestors of the hobbits that we know in the Third Age. They actually traveled and eventually settled in the Shire at one point in time. We see a lot of Galadriel, which is awesome, and including a scene that suggests her and Elrond might have been a little freaky deaky at one time. So just have to see what happens there.
Nice.
All in all, my wife, who actually hates Lord of the Rings, she watched the trailer and she is super stoked to watch this also. So they put all the money in on this thing, and it definitely shows, and it looks stellar.
Well, you slipped her some drugs, didn't you?
I mean, I'm just saying.
You were like, I'm fed up with this. You keep on shitting on the things that I love. Here's some drugs.
The
and now she's
salted
all
pork,
like,
it was especially good.
right.
Wow. Is this look like $1 billion product? I mean, I watched the trailer and I gotta say it looks good. It looks better than The Hobbit did, especially the last
It looks
Hobbit.
way better than The Hobbit did.
But man, when you put this much money up in stakes, I mean, do you feel like you feel comfortable? If you feel confident, you feel like you're getting the Lord of the Rings you want to get out of this property? I mean, obviously it's just a trailer and you just had some of the Comic-Con presentations and stuff, but do you feel like you're getting it?
I think there's people that absolutely love the movies that probably have never read the books. There are definitely a lot of people that have not read the Silmarillion because it's not a book. It's literally like a glossary appendix index type thing with just notes and scritches in here and there. I just think that this is going to be really a fun way to introduce people to concepts that we've talked about for years. I mean, the 2 trees is an image that people always talk about but have never seen done in a book, because obviously we've only had The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. It's only been in the Silmarillion. So to see the 2 trees visually on screen, to see Numenor before it falls into the ocean, all of this stuff is just going to be so fantastic, and it looks so good. I mean, if Wheel of Time can get a 3rd season, like there's no reason why this shouldn't be able to be a home run.
Now, can I ask you, in regards to this is going to be week to week, the way I understand it, right? So it's not going to drop at once. So are you good with that? You prefer that for this kind of show?
Yeah, because then we can have the podcasts and the conversations and the water cooler and just, all kinds of things can come out of this from fan communities. You can get your fanfic going on from all the people that have read the Silmarillion and go, here's what they got wrong, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it'll be a pure culture as this thing goes on for 2 seasons that they've picked it up for.
Do you worry, and this is a genuine concern I have for the property because I want it to get its due diligence. House of the Dragon premieres August 21st, and this premieres in early September, right?
Yeah, September 2nd, I believe.
Yeah, so it's like 2 weeks later, and it's going to be week to week as well. Are you worried that is going to... Game of Thrones is going to dilute some of the Lord of the Rings magic?
I think you're going to get let down by the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones and switch immediately over to this.
Ooh, bold words. Okay.
The gauntlet has been thrown.
I think there's space for both of these because they're going to air on different nights. And when you go week to week, you can do that. You can say, I'm going to watch Game of Thrones on Sunday and watch whatever Lord of the Rings on whatever day the 2nd is. Is that a Friday?
Yeah, and they serve like 2 different people. One show is going to be for the nerds who like whistle through their nose when they talk and all that other stuff. And the other show would be for the people who like hearing the word say, hearing people say fuck.
But apparently there's going to be language and nudity in this Lord of the Rings.
With dragons in both. What? In this one?
Yeah.
Well, no, really?
No.
Yeah.
That just sounds like D&D.
That was like the big thing. They were all in an uproar that because there's nudity in Lord of the Rings, it's not Tolkien's work and blah 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 blah.
That
and
sounds
it's like
wrong.
hello,
Well,
you've only seen the third age, people. The
let's
second
go
age could have been
easy.
all kinds of freaky deaky.
It could just mean we see some butt cheeks, right? It might not mean like Game of Thrones nudity because we think
Right.
Game of Thrones nudity and we're thinking well, it's going to be outright humping. That's not the same that might
Yeah.
be here. This is more family oriented.
Right. We're not talking sausages and hands here, people.
Although now I kind of
Little sausages.
I want to see that Lord of the Rings version. I want to see the Fellowship of the King with sausages and hands. I really do. I think that'd
From
be good.
dwarfs.
Yeah. Well, then it seems bigger. Sorry.
I'm
That's-
getting some PTSD flashbacks of Sausage Party.
Sorry. I couldn't help it.
And the answer of are the female dwarves bearded will actually be answered.
Is that a question?
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Really?
Yes,
Yes,
there will be
female-
there will be bearded female dwarves.
Yeah,
in
female
this Lord of the
dwarves
Rings.
have beards.
Okay. I don't remember that from the book. I don't really care either way, but I don't remember that from the book.
Because there weren't many female dwarves in the book.
I don't think there were any, were there?
I don't think there were.
That's a hell of a book to read. I'm not going to go back and check it.
Just get the PDF and then do word search.
Yeah. What about you two? Are you guys excited for Lord of the Rings? As excited as Troy is, or even close to it?
Definitely not as excited or more excited, but I'm looking forward to it. I want to give it an opportunity.
Yeah, I want to give it a shot. I want to see what Amazon Prime can pull out with this. Like, you know, Troy mentioned Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is a watchable show. Is it good? I don't know. Probably, maybe, sort of not. But is it at least enjoyable to sit down and watch? Yeah. And as far as feeding my adventure in like, you know, a made up place with swords and dragons and stuff, this might feed that a bit, but I'm not necessarily like Troy excited about this either.
Well, we'll find out when your nose starts whistling.
It's about to start whistling any second now. I might turn off my camera just to like shove my finger up there and loosen up some shit.
I think I'm going to watch both of these. I'm going to watch Lord of the Rings and House of the Dragon. And
Oh, for sure.
Same night, maybe. I might wait for Lord of the Rings and watch it right before Game of Thrones, just to mess it up.
I think that would be like a real interesting Venn diagram of characterization you'd have to keep track of.
Mm-hmm. I already have to put subtitles on for all of this, so.
Exactly.
Fair.
All right, so Lord of the Rings, which, yeah, $1 billion, they got 2 seasons, so at least you guarantee you get 2 seasons, and Wheel of Time got season 3. You did mention that. It was confirmed, which is kind of surprising, because I thought season 1 wasn't great. It was just good enough,
Good enough.
you know, to get you through.
The
All right.
magic effects were bad.
Anything else? Oh, they really were. Isn't it? That was wild to me. That you watch Wheel of Time, and I'm like, they spent so much money on this show. Why doesn't it look as good as anything on HBO? Anything.
Right.
I don't get
Yeah.
it.
In the formation of the sword in the trailer that they got for this, I mean, even that effect looks 10 times better than Wheel of Time combined.
I hope I gotta be honest, man. It has to stand up. It doesn't have to be the same kind of show, but it has to stand up to Game of Thrones effects wise if it's going to air that close to it. It just has to, or it's gonna suffer. If it looks like Wheel of Time, it's gonna suffer.
Yeah. Even for the cost.
Mm-hmm. All right, what else you got from San Diego Comic-Con?
Number 2, I have Star Trek all day. Picard season 3 is the final season of the Picard series, and Stewart and Gates McFadden were both in attendance. They teased the return of season 1 guests, Riker and Troy. Plus, Dr. Beverly Crusher returns along with Worf and Geordi LaForge in the 3rd season. There will be multiple Enterprises. And yes, there'll be yet another Brett Spiner character, a new character that will be present in the 3rd season. Lower Decks is also going to boldly go into a 3rd season, and there'll be a nice nod to DS9 during Lower Decks, which sounds like they'll actually decommission the space station. So that'll be an interesting thing to see. We might even run into Quark and some of the other folks that stayed on the station after the end of the actual DS9 show. There's also going to be a crossover episode between Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, which I can only assume is going to involve time travel, since those do not take place in the same exact time period.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And this is the second time there's ever been a crossover option in the Star Trek TV side. You can technically say that Star Trek Generations was a crossover app because Captain Kirk appeared in the movies. But the first time that a crossover event happened was when Riker was in the last episode of Enterprise. So this one will be another opportunity for a crossover, and it's going to be directed by none other than Jonathan Frakes, who plays Riker.
That's cool. He's a good director.
Awesome.
He's a good director.
Speaking of Strange New Worlds, Hall H got a promo reel of the first season now completed. It's freaking-tastic. Go watch it. If you've never seen any Trek before, this is the Trek you should watch. Very much stays with Gene Roddenberry's vision, but it makes it very acceptable and adaptable for a modern audience today. Mm-hmm. We got news that season 2 is filming and will feature the return of young Kirk as a lieutenant on the Farragut. There'll be more of Spock dealing with his emotions, and no bones about it. Yes, don't make any bones about it, because there'll be plenty of time yet for Strange New Worlds before it hits that 5-year mission of the original series timeline. So Bones will not be showing up on the show anytime soon. There was no Discovery, no Prodigy news, given the life cycle of those shows are not on the air right now. But there are 2 potential new series that were teased by Braga, and the basically said that there's going to be a female lead for one of those.
Very cool.
Kate Mulgrew said that she was also very interested in coming back into the live action side versus the animated side, maybe as Janeway again.
Well, there you go, John. That's one of your favorites, right?
Yep, she is. She's pretty awesome.
I gotta say, is this the best era for Star Trek ever?
By far. Picard season 2 is amazing. Amazing. Like, bawled my eyes out at the end. Amazing. If you were a TNG fan, season 2 is definitely for you.
I think that's why I struggle with it, because I wasn't a big TNG fan. But Strange New Worlds, amazing. I absolutely love that. Love it.
And it doesn't matter what William Shatner said when he completely bashed the entire new Star Trek in his own panel, like Shatner on Shatner or whatever it is.
Did he really?
Yeah, like totally threw shade. And then he basically said, "Fuck Star Wars." So he doesn't care about either one of them, to be honest.
Wow.
But
he's like 102. He can say whatever he wants.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
But
just disappointing.
Hall H totally showed that the Star Trek love is in full force, which is awesome.
That's good news. That's very cool.
Let's see. Number 3, The Last Airbender, the Avatar series. Avatar Studios from Paramount Nickelodeon is bringing 3 animated films to life. They first announced this at the ANSI International Animation Film Festival. And at Comic-Con, they revealed that the first movie of the 3 is going to be focused on, wait for it, Avatar Aang and his friends are back. And they're going to be a little bit older than they were in the original series. Series creators Brian Konietzko and Michael DiMartino are going to be back, as well as Lauren Montgomery, who is directing the movie. She was a supervisor and producer on the Legend of series Korra, on that one. She was also an artist on Korra, so this is in good hands. I'm super excited to see these 3 movies come to life, animated style. Which will be interesting because they're now films, so if they're going to be able to use the Avatar name is going to be interesting, since that would technically conflict with James Cameron, because when M. Night's movie came out, they weren't allowed to use the Avatar name on the M. Night movie.
Maybe it's because it's animated?
They might be able to. I don't know.
Are you glad that you're getting more Avatar, though? Because I know you're a big fan.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I still wanted to go back and make like an original like Avatar, Airbender, Korra type story, but with the Kyoshi Warriors and Avatar Kyoshi.
Would you want a live action one, just not with M. Night involved?
Yeah, M. Night can stay away from whatever he does. No M. Night, no Michael Bay. Just give me a good Lord of the Rings version of Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's what we wanted.
That could be good.
And finally, Apple TV news: Mythic Quest is getting a 3rd season this fall.
That's a good show. I've like halfway through it. I think that's a great show.
It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
The really 3rd season is going to figure out what happens when everybody kind of leaves the studio and is doing their own thing. So it'll follow that. For All Mankind is going to pack its Mars bars as it goes for a 4th season. Now that they're on the red planet in that show. Invasion and Foundation are also getting 2nd seasons. Invasion is going to be more extreme in the 2nd season because season 1 was the build to the invasion. Season 2 is now like the all-out war.
Is that the Sam Neill one?
I believe so, yes.
Was it? Did you watch that one?
I didn't watch the Invasion because I was watching Foundation.
You love Foundation, though.
Foundation was good. Yeah.
Okay. Man, it's a lot to unpack. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And it's a lot of stuff that probably not a lot of people care about.
I disagree.
There's no Marvel and Star Wars in any of that.
I disagree. There's a lot of cool stuff. Mythic Quest is one that, I got to be honest, I don't like comedy shows. Typically, I just don't find them very funny. I mean, Schitt's Creek's an exception, very rare for me. I just prefer drama, I guess, or something deeper, darker, whatever, suspenseful, whatever. But that show, for whatever reason, I just love how they are so absurd yet grounded. It's a really weird dynamic that they have. And it's also, I mean, if you've ever played video games, it's kind of like a behind the scenes of what the video game life is like if you're making the games. And I thought that was really interesting, something I hadn't seen before, done well. I'm not including like Free Guy and stuff like that. I mean, at the studio watching them make a game and the people behind it. Some of that stuff's really, really interesting, and how they use the actual like Twitch streamers and stuff like that to their advantage, and also get screwed by them, and how much power these 12-year-old kids wield. It's really interesting.
Yeah. If you liked Scrubs or Psych, it's kind of in that same vein.
It is.
Comedy
yeah.
yet serious at the same time.
That's pretty good. All right. Anything else from you, Troy?
No, that's the big stuff for me.
Okay, Amanda. What got you excited from San Diego Comic-Con?
Well, obviously, Keanu Reeves. Oh my gosh,
Gets
adorable.
everybody excited.
I know. So he first started with his John Wick 4 Chapter 4 trailer, in which he takes on his most lethal adversaries yet in the upcoming fourth installment of the series. With the price on his head ever increasing, Wick takes his fight against the high table global as he seeks out the most powerful players in the underworld, from New York to Paris to Osaka to Berlin. One thing that I'm really excited about with this is how many different countries we're going to explore in this installment. So Japan, Jordan, America, Germany, and France are all countries where action scenes will take place. And they've also talked up how much nunchuck action is going to happen. Samurai swords, guns, all of the great things that we love from the other John Wick movies. So I'm really, really excited. And of course, we got the trailer for it.
Now, did everybody watch the trailer? I don't know if everybody saw it. It's pretty fantastic.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
I mean, and they did, he still is missing the finger, but you do get to see him beating the shit out of lots of people. So apparently he's managed to work around it,
Are the stakes that much higher because he's on a plane the whole time and the jet lag makes him a little slower?
No.
Interesting.
I see, because he's traveling. I get you. No, I think they keep up on the mythology in this series. Like every movie gets a little heavier on the mythology, and I'm sure that's where all those countries are going to come into play. I do have a little bit of a concern as a fan of this series that they might be putting too much in the pot. You know what I mean? Like they're getting a little too cluttered with the mythology, but time will tell. Because the last movie, I mean, there was a good section where I'm like, what the hell is all this about? And it kind of takes away from what you want to see in a John Wick movie, which is Keanu Reeves barely escaping and killing random people.
But we do get really, really cool action sequences,
so
even in
cool.
the trailer. There's a moment.
You can't kill everyone. Yes, I can.
He throws an axe and it lands directly in someone's skull. And I don't know. It looks brutal. It looks fun. I'm here for the entertainment of Keanu Reeves kicking ass.
Absolutely.
So ultimately, that's what matters to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because if they're going to do the mythology stuff, then they have to see how that Maggie Q property can work in, because I feel it's very in the same vein, same universe type.
Oh, well, it's not the same universe, though. That one's not the same.
It feels like it could be, though.
But they are making an Ana de Armas spinoff called Ballerina. And that's going to be her as one of these assassins. So there is going to be a spinoff from this.
Well, and if you saw her in The Gray Man recently, I think she can actually handle that. I was probably more hesitant to seeing her in an assassin role until I saw her in The Gray Man.
She was kick ass in that movie. The movie itself was kick ass. That was a badass action film.
Right? Right?
Man, there's people that, the plot. Oh, shut the up. Who cares? That movie was fun as hell from start to finish. Mm-hmm. Nonstop
100%.
action. It was a lot of fun. Even with that stupid mustache.
I loved it.
Stupid mustache.
So getting back to Keanu Reeves, he also was excited to talk about all things Berserker, his comic from Boom Studios, which he and Ron Garney wrote. Berserker is about a man known only as B, a half mortal and half god, guy, I guess, cursed and compelled to violence, even at the sacrifice of his sanity. But after wandering the world for centuries, the Berserker finally might have found a refuge, working for the U.S. government to fight battles too violent and too dangerous for anyone else. In exchange, B will be granted the one thing he desires, the truth about his endless blood-soaked existence and how to end it. I mean, it sounds really cool. It looks really cool. They are also working, Netflix is working on a Berserker film adaptation where
I didn't
Keanu
know
Reeves.
that. That's
yes,
awesome. Yeah.
He's going to star in it and he's also going to produce it. And then there's a spin-off anime series coming to Netflix where Keanu Reeves is going to voice the main character. And we did finally get some clips from various pages of the book with Keanu Reeves providing voiceovers. So they gave us a lot of insight into this world.
Damn.
Obviously trying to build it out into something huge, which I think is really cool.
It's kind of crazy. He's going to have like that Liam Neeson career in the later half where he's like an old guy doing a bunch of action stuff, except he's actually capable of doing it.
Yeah, and I loved, he had a statement that he said about it. He said, I had this idea of a character who can punch you through the chest and rip arms off, who is cursed with violence and is trying to figure out who they are and reclaim their humanity. And so he pitched this in 2017 and they agreed to try to put it together. And that's why it took a few years. And I don't know. I just really love that there's a lot of compassion between the co-writer and Berserker artist Garney and Keanu Reeves. They all have a lot of compassion and love for each other about this project. And so I think when you have people like that who are that passionate about something, there's no way that it's going to fail. I think it's going to be really good.
Love that. Love that. I'm excited.
So moving on to Marvel, not all things Marvel. We're going to save a lot of it for Aaron and his panel.
Jesus, there's so much stuff to go through.
But I'm going to talk about a couple animated things that I'm excited about. The first being Freshman Year, which is the Spider-Man animated series. That is Jeff Trammell, who's the writer and executive producer of it, and teased the audience with concept art of Peter Parker, his suits, and allies like Harry Osborn, Doctor Strange, and Daredevil. Charlie Cox is actually returning to voice Daredevil. So that's kind of exciting for all of us. And I know there's more Daredevil stuff we have to talk about. This series actually takes place before the character's introduction into the MCU in Civil War. They didn't really give us a whole lot of details, but they did show some concept art of Norman Osborn being Peter's mentor in the series, and that it's set to premiere in 2024 on Disney Plus with a second season already announced, which I think is crazy, called Spider-Man Sophomore Year. Any excitement for that one? Just me?
It's all right.
That's all right. Okay. So
I don't watch any of the animated stuff, so I feel bad because you seem very, very excited. I know a lot of people love What If. I just don't get into it. I watched the Captain America or Captain Britain episode.
Well, this is the Spider-Man part. We haven't talked about What If yet, but this is just Spidey.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just talking about the animated stuff. Like that's the only animated thing I've really gotten
Captain
into.
Carter part.
Yeah, that was cool. Well, speaking of What If, they do provide a look at the second season of What If, and in this one, the Watcher continues to explore the multiverse with new episodes featuring other characters from the MCU, like Thor Ragnarok's Hela. I think that one will be interesting. And they've already, again, announced a third season. And this one, the second season, is set to premiere in 2023, sometime early in the year. And then after What If, they're having...
Is that show canon? Is What If canon?
It kind of seems like they're incorporating it into the multiverse. They don't specify whether it's canon or not, unless there's something that I missed maybe in another article. John, did you hear anything else about this?
It's multiverse related. That's it. That's and actually Multiverse of Madness confirms that everything that in What If is sort of canon on a multiverse level.
Yeah. So they're also coming out with a zombie show, which, I mean, I thought we were done with the zombie era, but here we are, Marvel Zombies. It's the spinoff of the series from What If, inspired by the 2005 Marvel comic series called Marvel Zombies. It takes place in an alternate reality where a new generation of heroes must battle against a zombie apocalypse. It has executive producers Brian Andrews and AC Bradley, and they showed off some concept art of the new series. And one thing that I'm really excited about is that some of the heroes that face the zombie scourge include Shang-Chi, Katie, and Kate Bishop.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's
so I
pretty
really
awesome.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might watch a zombie show. Is that weird that I would? That's one of the few animated things I would check out. I'm like, just to see how it's done. It just
I
sounds
was
like
about to say, but Aaron, it's animated, but
it's a wild concept though. So I would check that out.
It is. And I like that they're incorporating some of the characters that are more hidden, not hidden, but secondary in some of the other shows, like Kate Bishop, and bringing them into this world in another capacity. I like that. Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop.
Another thing that I'm excited about, and I'm hoping John is on board with me on this, is okay, based on that sound effect, I'm going to say yes, and that he needs new pants. Dungeons and Dragons has released a trailer for the film Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. The synopsis for this is a charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers undertake an epic heist to retrieve a lost relic, but things go dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people, just like every D&D adventure goes. It's bringing to life the rich world and playful spirit of the legendary role-playing game in a hilarious and action-packed adventure. Now, aside from us seeing the trailer, which does look cool, and it does have Michelle Rodriguez in it, and I do love her, they have said that there's going to be a surprise D&D celebrity guest to show up to make an appearance. We don't know who that is, but John, who are place your bets? Because it could be Manganiello. I don't know how we say his real name. It could be Matt Mercer from Critical Role. It could be Stephen Colbert. It could be any of these people, even Vin Diesel, who are really ingrained into the D&D world and could potentially show up in this. Do you have bets on who you think it could be or who you want it to be?
I don't really have a single bet to put into this, but I gotta say that that as far as like a trailer goes, I actually had feelings. Like good, happy feelings. When you look at it, like for me, when they were playing that trailer, I was stoked. Like Chris Pine shows up and he's doing all the planning stuff, and then I realize that he's got a lute. And I'm like, oh my god, they're showing us a bard. Chris Pine is gonna be a bard. That's gonna be insane. And then you have Michelle Rodriguez, who's a barbarian. Justice Smith is a wizard. Reggie Jean Page as the paladin. Oh my god. And then Sophia Lillis, she is obviously a shape-shifting druid, but she also looks like she might be a tiefling. Like
she is a tiefling, yeah.
They went so deep cuts for this. Like the horn they show us, I think, is the horn of Oculus, and I'm pretty sure that was Vecna we saw messing with the horn of Oculus. So if it ends up doing a Vecna storyline with the horn of Oculus or Oculus, whatever it's pronounced, like I could see easily Matt Mercer or Joe Manganiello being part of this.
Yeah.
I know that D&D has had a lot of a bad rap, but this looks like it was D&D made by people who love D&D. And you can tell by the fact that they've got a lot of deep cuts there. You see Sophia's character turn into an owlbear. An owlbear! Freaking owlbear! That's amazing! You see, again, you got Chris Pine running around with a lute singing a song, which was really cool. There's a Displacer Beast in there, like all of it. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, they're really trying to play to the people who are longtime fans of D&D, but also it looks like trying to make it something fun and entertaining for people who are not part of the D&D world, which I really like. Like for you and I, we're gonna know what these things are, but for everyone else, it's another monster, and that's fun. And I do think Joe Manganiello is how you say his name, however you say his name.
I've heard it
I think
always.
he will be part of it because he was part of the group that actually made the script happen. He actually wrote one of the first drafts of the script for it and rallied around getting the film made. So I'm really hoping that he's involved in it in the, face capacity where he's an actor. But I would love it if they brought in some of Critical Role people too. They have their own animated series that's continuing. They had their own panel in the hall or whatever at Comic-Con.
Hall H.
Was there any more news as far as, because as I understand it, they're only supposed to be doing 2 seasons of Critical Role, but that would make me kind of sad.
Yeah, there wasn't any, they didn't really talk about that. It was more of like a Q&A with them. Liam O'Brien actually brought in some soft feels about his character Caleb. Somebody brought up the question on, the PTSD of that character and essentially where the inspiration comes from and how he built a well-rounded character. And it actually comes from some personal experiences that he didn't divulge. But I guess that was a very emotional moment. But they didn't really talk about their show or anything. However, there was a lot of praise to the Critical Role crew for everything they've done to make D&D come to the forefront. I know Stranger Things obviously has had a part to play in that too, but not at all in the same capacity Critical Role has. And this movie would not be happening if it wasn't for Critical Role, in my opinion. They really mainstreamed it and made it more acceptable, and you're no longer just the outcasted nerds and weirdos if you like D&D. You have frickin' Vin Diesel out here playing and doing D&Diesel.
Yeah, like Critical Role is some pretty amazing work in what they've done. So I'm glad that they've actually made D&D or playing D&D a much more mainstream thing, and actually shined a light or shown a light on the more important aspects of D&D. It's not the monsters, it's not the story, it's the characters and what those characters end up doing. I can tell you that I've heard of Critical Role for a long time, and I never really wanted to give it a shot, but because of the cartoon, The Legend of Vox Machina, I gave them a shot, and I listened to 103 episodes before I needed to take a break, and it's some of the most compelling storytelling that I've had to listen to in a long time. And so that's what's got me excited that, like, if this has any sort of roots built in from Critical Role and from Joe Manganiello and from Vin Diesel or anyone who's been putting out D&D content, it really has a lot of love and care into it. And I'm excited for it. So yeah.
I don't care about any of that, but it looks fun. Yeah,
it looks fun. I mean, that's the best part, is that it looks fun.
Yeah,
I need to know, does it have dungeons and does it have dragons?
Well, it's got dragons.
And it does have dragons.
And it's got a dungeon.
It's going to have a dungeon, I'm certain.
And if this comes anywhere close to the Remake This Movie Right episode, we better be getting a royalty check.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. I remember that one.
It's because I wasn't involved, wasn't it?
No, that wasn't it.
It was a long time ago.
There's been a few Dungeons and Dragons. There's one in the 80s where it was Tom Hanks was in it. And it was not good. And then
nothing has ever really been great.
Yeah.
Well, that one in the 80s with Tom Hanks was more of like, this is why you shouldn't play Dungeons and Dragons, because you're going to run off and like become a psychopath or something.
Yeah, something like that. It was not good. And then they had the Marlon Wayans one. That wasn't very good.
He wasn't even like the lead star of that movie, and everyone remembers it as being the Marlon Wayans one.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah, but that movie looks fun. And the best part about the Comic-Con panel is, Chris Pine showed up, and Chris Pine's being full on Chris Pine. He was very excited about the owl thing. What's it called?
Owlbear.
Owlbear. He was very excited about that. But go find pictures of him, go Google it. He was wearing, I think, my grandmother's curtains. I don't know what this outfit was, but it was, you got to have stones to wear that. And he went out there, man. He was just, I don't know if he was trying to be a beatnik poet. I don't know what that outfit is, but man, it was something. People kept saying, did you see the Dungeons and Dragons trailer? And I'm like, did you see Chris Pine's outfit at the panel? I think that's more important than the trailer. It's really It
I
should
don't
be
think
noted.
it looks that bad. I mean, I understand the shirt is a little
You don't?
a little odd.
I didn't say it's bad. I just said like my grandmother's curtains. I wasn't knocking my grandmother. Why are you knocking my grandmother? I just said
I'm
looks like my
not.
grandmother's curtains. Take it however you like. I
Yeah.
love my grandmother very much when she was around.
I'm in no position to judge him on what he's wearing.
Yeah, he can wear whatever the hell he wants.
I don't
He's
disagree with
Chris
that
Pine.
either. Don't disagree. Don't disagree. Anything else, Amanda?
No, that's my panel.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to listen to Kyle Nolan from NoReruns.net talk about being live on the ground at San Diego Comic-Con. All right, I am here with Kyle from NoReruns.net, and I want to preface this with a lot of information that he's going to be talking about. He will have interviews with a lot of actors and production crew members on his website, NoReruns.net. Just check that out. I'm sure you literally just got back from Comic-Con, so it will be forthcoming. But as you hear this, some of that stuff should be populating. But Kyle, how's it going?
It's going good. It was great to be back in San Diego again.
Is this the first time it's been live since 2019? Is that right?
Yes. Yep. The first time it's been live in like 3 years. But it felt very much the same as it's always been, except with more masks and not the like superhero kind. But other than that, yeah, it felt pretty much the same. The only main difference I would say, like some of the press rooms that I did, the main star didn't come. It might be like, here's two actors that you don't really know, but they're on the show, or they play like the side characters. Like some of the main actors didn't show up.
Because Hollywood COVID protocols right now are saying basically if they get COVID, then the production shuts down, right? That's a big factor.
Well, that's what happened with like the rookie and the rookie feds panel. Like the day before the panel, they said due to increasing COVID cases, they're not going to be live. But I mean, they'll be live, but they'll be remote rather than on the stage.
It's like a big Zoom meeting.
Yeah. So they had basically the moderator on the stage and then a screen with everybody. And they told press the day before or 2 days before that this was going to happen, but they never updated the description of the panel. So as soon as the moderator came out and announced that, there were boos.
Oh yeah,
and
I could see that
because people chose to go to that panel because they wanted to see Nathan Fillion live rather than going to something else. And
what people don't realize, if you've never been to a convention, especially like San Diego Comic-Con, is I mean, at the convention center, what it is you've got panels throughout this entire building. If you go to one, you're giving up going to another one because they're all running concurrently. Unless you get lucky enough to get into Hall H and you can stay there all day, unless they change that rule. But
nope, they never clear the room, so you can still do
it's
that.
Crazy that they do that still. Crazy.
It's even got its own bathroom and its own food, so you never have to leave Hall H ever once you're in there.
You just live there. And that's where the big Marvel panels that were there, which we're going to talk about on the show, a lot of those announcements, they happened in Hall H. So that's the biggest announcement. Did you see anything in Hall H while you were there, by the way?
I did go to Hall H twice. I went one day to see the Sandman panel because I was doing that press room and I wanted to know what the show was even about because I haven't read those comics or listened to the audio.
Let's start there. Sandman, what was that like? Does it look as exciting as it should? Because that's a pretty fantastic comic.
Yeah, I mean, they showed the trailer at the end of that, and it looked amazing from the trailer. I still have no clue what the show is about, but the trailer looks great. Lots of great special effects. The cast is amazing. Like in the press room, I got to talk to Gwendolyn Christie, and she is the nicest person ever, and you could just listen to her for hours talking.
Just about anything?
Yep.
About anything. How wonderful that Game of Thrones finale is? Nobody wants to ask that question, do they? They're just like, stay away from the Game of Thrones questions. Nothing. So what did you learn anything real substantial or anything tantalizing from the Sandman while you were there?
No, they mainly talked about the casting, how each person was cast. It was kind of interesting. They said they'd already cast Patton Oswalt before he even knew he was cast. Like he was the first person they already knew they had in mind. They wanted to do the voice of the Raven. And so he didn't even know he had the part or that there was a part, but he already had the part before he found out.
It's kind of funny.
And then they went through just talking about every single person, how they got cast. And there were like 10 of them on the stage. So that took a while to get through that. They also talked a little bit about some of the gender swapping. Like they have Joanna Constantine, not Constantine. I don't know why, but instead of John Constantine. So they went female there. And then also Gwendolyn Christie plays Lucifer. And they were talking about how the original inspiration for Lucifer was the androgynous David Bowie. So it's not a far stretch to cast her as that.
And I think technically it could have been Tom Ellis, right? From the Lucifer show, but they didn't want to go that direction. They want to start completely fresh and keep it completely separate from that property. Got it. So when you're there at Comic-Con, right? So people that have never been to San Diego Comic-Con, basically what it is, the convention center is ground zero. That's where you see everybody dresses up. It's a fantastic fan event. All your favorite genre properties are there. But then you go throughout the city and there's a lot of what are called activations, which are other promotional opportunities for different things. Did you see anything like that where it's basically like a pop-up promo?
Yeah, I saw so many activations. Fortunately, a bunch of them were press preview, so I could schedule an appointment and go in and didn't have to wait, because these things have hours and hours long lines, especially for like the Apple had one for Severance, and that you pretty much had to log in at 6 a.m. in the morning to schedule a time, or you could wait in the standby line, which most of those people, they could wait all day and never get in for the standby line.
That's rough.
But that they also didn't, I don't think this was Apple's first time at Comic-Con. I don't think they fully knew what they were getting into, because
they're just like, what are all these people doing here?
Yeah, it was just they were running late. I finally scheduled an appointment for their thing at 5:30 one day, and they didn't even let us in until after 6. So they had most of the appointments had already run overtime beforehand. It also looked like the thing was designed for 10 people at a time, but then they were now squeezing 12 people in, because at one point they have you sit around like a boardroom table and they say, everyone take a seat. And like 2 of the seats, they just had bags sitting on the table, but no seats. So I think they were trying to fix their problem of having too many people by extending it to include extra people each time through.
That's crazy, but that is a great time. And I'm happy to know that people still came back, right? People were excited. Was it the same kind of vibe that it's been in years past where, and we've covered it on this podcast. I've been to Comic-Con a couple times. It's an insane event where the crowds are pretty enormous, and half of them are dressing up, if not 3/4. Is it still that same kind of vibe? Really packed, a lot of people dressed up, that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's definitely the same. The one costume I was surprised to see so many of was the I forget what it's called, like the Ratatouille thing from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh,
I saw so many I saw so many people with that tall chef hat with a raccoon on their head.
Get out.
And there was at least a dozen people I saw dressed like that,
That's
including
amazing.
one family of 3. All 3 of them were dressed like that.
Did you see any hot dog fingers?
I did not see any hot dog fingers.
It's disappointing. If you're going to go for the rat, why not go for the full effect?
They need to be able to grab things. It's tough to grab all that swag.
Yeah, it's hard to get all that free stuff when you got giant hot dog fingers. Imagine
But I mean, the floor was, I only really went to the floor on Wednesday night, and it wasn't so like overwhelmingly packed like it usually is. I did go in briefly on another day, and it felt that way, but it definitely didn't feel like, oh, there's COVID stuff going on, let's limit the number of people. Like, it felt like a full normal Comic-Con. Some of the stuff on the floor, like WB didn't have their presence on their floor that they usually have, and same with Stars and TBS, and so there was less stuff that I would go see on the floor, but it was still like wall-to-wall stuff, just less of those big, huge activations on the floor that they sometimes have.
You felt pretty safe. I mean, safe as you can at this point.
Yeah, they required masks inside the convention center. So any panel you went to, they required masks. And in the press rooms, pretty much everyone was wearing masks except the people being interviewed, because they're on camera and they don't want to be filmed wearing masks.
It's kind of ironic, though, that at Comic-Con they have to require masks. Like that would be a problem for any of them. I mean, they're dressed up as Yoda. They're dressed up as everything you could think of. So that's funny. So what was the other Hall H? You said you saw 2 things. The same
yeah, so then I went to Hall H for the What We Do in the Shadows, followed by the Funko panel. That thing was packed, the Funko panel.
You went for the Funko panel, but not Marvel? What the hell?
Well, Marvel, I had to go to the Sandman press room, so I couldn't go to the Marvel thing. But yeah, well, the Funko panel, they were also giving out exclusive Funkos, which so everyone was lined up to get those free Funkos there. But they did have William Zabka, Johnny Lawrence on that panel, on the Funko panel. And they asked him what he collects, and his answer was second place trophies. And so, that was the best answer of the whole thing. And then he went on to talk about how he hopes they can win this year and go Eagle Fang and all this other stuff. So
he's legit a great guy. Legit a great guy. All right. So you did a ton of press. You go there mostly for press. You're sitting, you go to a press room, and if you don't know what a press room is you sit around a table, and people typically either you move or they move, right? So I don't know which way.
Yeah, they move. We typically sit and they rotate around the talent to the different tables. So then you have you could have 3 minutes, you could have 7 minutes. In one room, we had 15 minutes per person, which was insane. But there was only 2 people, so they were giving us. And actually, they combined 2 tables together, so we had just enough time for everyone to get one question in those 15 minutes. So it actually worked out pretty well.
That's tough. Did you have any exciting moments or fun, memorable moments from those press outings?
So I think in that one where we did the combined press room, it was for this podcast called I Hear Voices, which has 2 of the people that did voices for Kim Possible, and they interview voiceover artists for animated properties or video games and things like that. Yeah. So one of them, Christy Carlson Romano was also in Even Stevens. So she broke into one of the songs from the Even Stevens musical episode, which then she talked about how the ratings on that were so big that's what led Disney to create High School Musical, the film. So everyone can thank her for what's his name's career.
Zac Efron.
Yep.
The King. He's a great singer, actually. Well, that's kind of a fun fact. So anybody else pretty exciting that you talked to?
Were
you disappointed that I don't want to say the A-list talent, but a lot of the top tier talent wasn't there like it normally would be?
Yeah, it was a little disappointing. Like you go into the Orville room and they don't have Seth MacFarlane, or you go into the which room was it? The Solar Opposites room, and we did have everyone from the Solar Opposites room. There was another one where we didn't get the main, like American Dad, we didn't get the main cast. We just got 2 of the characters, the one that plays the fish and the one that plays Jeff, but none of the main family members for that.
At Orville, when you were in there, did you get a sense or a vibe for season 4? I know some people are hoping.
I was surprised they didn't say anything. We never got around to asking if there was going to be a season 4, but why would you bring them to Comic-Con if you're not going to renew them? It also felt odd that they would bring like American Dad, where that's on TBS, and who knows what's going to happen with TBS. So these things, it seems like, why would you bring this show if it's not going to get picked up?
I wonder, because you got to book them months and months in advance. So maybe they had them booked before they knew. Like American Dad, TBS didn't know that they were going to ditch scripted programming.
Could be, yeah.
Orville, I don't know. I still think Orville has a shot at a 4th season, because they just made that announcement that all 3 seasons were going to Disney Plus, right? So there's a chance if it finds more people.
Yeah,
it's a fun show. So tell me something else. Tell me something exciting about San Diego Comic-Con this year that will get people excited to maybe try it next year if they've never been before.
I was going to mention the Paramount Plus party, but
please, not
everyone gets to go to those.
No, that's my favorite part. I saw your picture there with Jack Quaid, son of one of the greatest actors of all time, and also a fine actor in his own right.
But yeah, so the Paramount Plus, they had a party. They had built this whole 10 Forward bar, like a recreation of the bar from one of the Star Trek series. And so they were hosting a party basically in that activation, and then the bar next door to it. But they had casts from like Lower Decks, from Strange New Worlds, and the Orville cast was there as well. So they were all just wandering around taking photos in this blocked off area that regular people couldn't get into.
But
then they started to mingle with everyone else. So yeah, I immediately we followed Jack Quaid for a while. I have to admit, before
you're stalking him, basically. Is that what you're saying?
Somewhat, yeah. But once we had our opening, then he was at the bar, and so all of us walked up and were one-on-one getting photos with him, and then also Ethan Peck, who plays Spock on the new Strange New World series, was also around there. He was incredibly nice, introducing himself to everyone like no one knows who you are. Like, hi, I'm Ethan Peck.
Aww.
Like, we know who you are. Yeah,
that's cool.
And so he was incredibly nice, shaking people's hands, thanking them for coming out and talking to him.
And I should say, some people might not even know, Jack Quaid is Huey on The Boys, if you didn't know who that was. So just so you know.
Yeah, he also does a voice on Lower Decks, which is the reason why he was at that.
I didn't know.
Party.
I didn't know that. Did you happen to call him the C word when you saw him?
I did not.
So somebody should agree with him.
At the Funko panel, someone William Zabka said that his superhero power that he wanted was teleportation, and someone from the audience screamed, "Will you be nude?" And he didn't get the reference. So he was just confused why he would want to teleport nude.
That's kind of amazing. Anson Mount? Was Anson Mount there? Big fan of Anson.
He was wandering around there. He's one that we also stalked for a while, but then they all had their own bodyguards, and he was taken away for a while. One of the pictures I posted is a selfie because me with him in the background,
because that counts.
You can see him over my shoulder. So I do technically have a picture with him, but it's not really a sanctioned picture.
I'm a big fan of his. Long before Star Trek. Just Hell on Wheels is one of my favorite shows. I just love that show, and he was
I enjoyed that as well.
Yeah. So, for people that might be wanting to go on their own, still not the cheapest thing to go to, right? It's still a pretty pricey endeavor when you take in travel and hotels and.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, the hotels can add up, and same with the flights. It's also very tough to get a ticket if you haven't gone before, because they basically have two lotteries. One is the first lottery they have is for returning people, where then you can go and try to buy a ticket for the next year, but you can buy them for people that haven't been before. I think you can buy up to 4 when you get in, but then those that they only sell about half the tickets there, and then they have a second lottery that's a general lottery, and so everyone can get into that. So you maybe have a 10% chance of getting a ticket. It's very tough.
It's kind of tough. Yeah, it's kind of tough. And you went as press, I've been as press. It's a different system, but it's still kind of a pain in the ass. I mean, it's not. I mean, you do get a little bit more of an advantage, I think, but overall, I mean, it's just hard to get a ticket to Comic-Con, no matter what way you're going, and it really sucks for people that have to wait in those lines because you. I remember my buddy was trying to go 3 years in a row and never got a ticket, and then he finally got one. So it can be a process, man. It can be a real process.
Yeah, but it was definitely back to business as usual this year. And
was it exciting? Because the announcements, man. I just felt we're back. It's back.
Yeah, I was following the Marvel announcements on Twitter while waiting in line in another room. I was seeing all the different posts with their giant photo of their huge lineup for.
And you're movies. I wish I would have been there. That would have been a cool one. Oh, well. Henry Cavill never showed up, by the way. That was the rumor that Henry Cavill was going to show up and announce some Superman deal, and that didn't happen. So, damn you, Comic-Con. Damn you. Yeah,
they did have a Doctor Strange thing for the DVD release of the new movie, where basically they had the the whack-a-mole game with the Papa.
Pizza Papa?
Pizza Papa, yeah. So they announced there was going to be some special visit to that thing. My first thing was, Doctor Strange is going to be there. Of course, it wasn't Benedict Cumberbatch, but it was, what's his name?
Bruce Campbell?
Bruce Campbell did show up there.
He's always at Comic-Con. Every time I've been to Comic-Con, Bruce Campbell's been there. I think he lives there. All right. Well, everybody can find more at noreruns.net. Find all those interviews he's talking about. Sandman sounds like it's going to be pretty fantastic. And I'm glad you got to hang out with Huey. That's pretty cool. But you really should have called him a So, all right, man. I'll let you get back to it, and looking forward to the interviews.
Yep. Thanks.
Hey, you know what? Our show is independently funded, therefore all the expenses are from our own pockets, and Patreon helps fans support the favorite podcast. Once you sign up, you get immediate access to all the content in your respective tier. We've got a bad movie night that's dedicated there and unedited on that feed. We also have a monthly bonus episode. Whatever you want to do, subscribe to whatever tier you want to help support the show. It really does help us, and it's a big benefit to the podcast. Patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. That's patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. There's a new Transformers episode of Bad Movie Night on there, and Troy loses his shit. So let's go back to San Diego Comic-Con, and now it's John's turn. What excited you, sir?
Oh, but the first thing I want to talk about that excited me was the Hall H panel for Black Adam. So there's a lot of cool things that really happened. The Rock comes out in full Black Adam regalia. They put up a screen behind him that you see all the lightning bolts flying all over the place, and that was pretty cool. It was nice to really sit down and listen to what they were saying about why they're both happy that the movie got pushed back for effects reasons because of the pandemic. The effects houses were all backed up in their production schedules. So that's one of the reasons why we aren't having Black Adam coming out this coming weekend, which is July 29th. Instead, it's going to be coming out October 21st. And it's probably going to end up being a much better situation for them as far as a release schedule goes. Then they played the trailer, the newest version of the trailer that came out, and you got to see some really great looks at Black Adam, which of course you're going to see him in the trailer because it's his damn movie.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see Hawkman, so Aldous Hodge, more Hawkman things. You got to find out more about what kind of character Aldous Hodge is playing as Hawkman, which is Carter Hall. And he is more of like an animalistic, he's very much, for those who don't know who Hawkman is, he's kind of like DC's he's kind of like DC's Wolverine. Goes into a fight, he's brutal, he's just a monster at fighting, and it's just dangerous to meet up with him. The difference is that he's Hawkman, and you can take that for whatever it is. You got to see some great shots of not only Pierce Brosnan, but Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate, and the fact that they're doing a Dr. Fate portion to this. You get to see more.
Is that a big character? Is that a big character in
He's
DC?
a huge character in the DC world. He's a huge character. He's on par with, like, Dr. Fate is on par with how in DC as big as Doctor Strange is for Marvel.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. He is a huge character. And the whole story behind him, if you don't know what kind of character Dr. Fate is that the helmet itself holds the spirit of a old god, and whoever wears that helmet, they turn into Dr. Fate, which is he's the protector of order on the planet Earth, and he's got all these magical abilities, and usually they depict it as if Dr. Fate takes over that body and stays as Dr. Fate. It looks like this is going to be more of a partnership between the helmet and the wearer of the helmet, which is pretty good. There were a couple things that people were brought up. One of the things that I thought was noteworthy, because I'll get to it in a second, but somebody did ask if there's going to ever be a time where we'll see Black Adam get into a fight with Superman, and who would win that fight. And The Rock kind of turned around and said, well, it depends on who's playing Superman. Otherwise, it's pound for pound, pretty tough fight. And people thought that was a bit of a jibe towards the fact that we don't know the fate of Henry Cavill playing Superman anymore, which, if you weren't paying attention to the news before San Diego Comic-Con, there was a lot of articles from a lot of reputable places that were talking about how we were going to get something from Henry Cavill and get some really big news. We got nothing of that.
That was very disappointing. That's probably the most disappointing of everything, because I was stoked for that.
Oh my God. I was ready to flip a table is how upset I got about the whole thing. Cause Henry Cavill's my Superman. I want to take a moment to really point out, Marvel really won the show. They brought everything they possibly could to Comic-Con. Aaron's going to tell you a little bit more about it. DC was obviously absent a few of important things, and those important things are things that will make sense as to why they're absent. We did not get anything from Aquaman, a movie that's coming out in not too long of a time. We did not get anything from Flash, another movie that is coming out. Obviously, there's a lot of BS going around those two movies because
they got some messy stuff
They
going
got
on, some drama,
personal drama going on behind it.
some staffing issues.
Yeah, so staffing issues for sure. There is some speculation that one of the things DC is going to do is they're going to bring back the DC fandom. Though there's no date for it yet. There's no time set for it yet, and Discovery might decide not to do it at all. However, this DC fandom is something that's not quite as interactive as Hall H is a Comic-Con, so it might be a safer place for them to showcase those things if they do bring it. And if they are going to do it, that might be some place where we'll end up getting some sort of like final word on what's going on with Henry Cavill's Superman.
Could have been a problem. I mean, I'm sure once they got there, they heard that Marvel's unleashing phases 5 and 6, and they would blow their announcements out of the water for a big portion of it. So
that's probably true too.
Yeah.
Although I'm pretty sure if they got the Henry Cavill's doing Man of Steel 2, it would have rocked the damn house.
Yeah. I mean, Johnson got booed. I don't know if you heard that, but he got booed when he didn't confirm Henry Cavill was going to be Superman. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think to John's point, when they have Marvel doing their phase announcements, they're better off doing their entire own event because they got so much publicity when they did their DC fandom. And so I'm kind of on board with them doing that again. I don't feel like Comic-Con has to be where they make all of their huge announcements, even though it's historically been where you make all the best announcements. I think they can just do their own thing, and then they don't have to compete with Marvel. And that gives them time to sort out their own shit.
Yeah, right. Before the pandemic, everybody was moving to their own event. You had, this is the first really big event in 3 years. So you were getting a big Marvel event. You were getting a big Star Wars event. You were getting this would be, if they did fandom, this would be the third year fandom, which is in line with their own event. So it's not anything new. I think what the pandemic might have done, if anything, was bring everything back to Hall H.
Yeah. Well, it did. It did a great job of it too.
Yeah.
And the Black Adam trailer looks pretty great. I'm actually pretty stoked for that.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it too. And people who don't realize, this has been a project for Dwayne Johnson, whatever you want to call him, The Rock. He's been advocating for this story to be told since 2009. So for him to finally get the opportunity to do this story and is awesome. So from here, I want to go ahead and move into Shazam and Fury of the Gods. We finally got a trailer for that. Shazam, next to Superman, Shazam's one of my favorite characters out of DC world. I was really happy with the first movie. Looking at this trailer, I'm really happy with where we're going. Everybody's coming back, and their Shazam family counterparts are coming back, with the exception of Grace Caroline Curry. She's actually playing both Mary Broomfield, and she's playing Mary Marvel. So I thought that was actually an interesting change, although it makes a lot of sense at the same time. And then you have Helen Mirren, Lucy Liu, Rachel Zegler all showing up to play. They're the villains of the story. They're the Daughters of Atlas. And at the same time, you've got Shazam, who's trying to keep his Shazam family together. And everyone's kind of running off. And it's been some time since we've seen our hero family. They've done missions together. They've gone off on adventures together. And they've been learning how to still be superheroes amongst everything else. And Shazam himself is dealing with some self-doubt because there's already one of everything that he does. So what point is there in the world to him? But the trailer looked fantastic. It has that same fun feel that the trailer had for the first Shazam story. And again, I love that movie, and this got me really excited.
I wonder if they'll connect Shazam and Black Adam, and Superman will be in Black Adam, but he'll just be like from the neck down.
Yeah,
the entire fight.
I don't know if there's a fight with Superman and Black Adam, but
no, but that's the fight I want to see now. I want to see where they had to, cut Superman off at the head in Shazam. I want to see that fight where Black Adam's fighting him, but you only see the neck down the whole time.
There was another moment in this where somebody did ask. Zachary Levi if we're going to see Shazam and Superman in the same shot finally, and he was like, I don't know, and everyone kind of cheered at that. And there was a question of whether or not we're going to see Shazam and Black Adam get into a fight at any point in time, and Zachary Levi kind of like, next question please, we're going to move right along. but to have Shazam and then to have Black Adam, but not to have Shazam versus Black Adam would be a waste for DC. And even best if they can do Shazam and Superman team up against Black Adam. Oh, chef kiss. That would be amazing.
Mm.
It kind of seems like it's going to happen. It just seems like he's not able to announce it right now. Because even though he's like, no, I don't know, no idea, all those sorts of things, he kind of has that look.
Yeah.
And when they asked him if there was going to be a third one, he just he rallied the crowd, was like, do you guys want a third one? Yeah. Well, if you go see it, then the bosses might do another one. So there's no like hard no on it. I think he knows that as long as this one's successful, they'll probably do another one. That's the plan. I think that DC they're struggling because they're not giving fans enough to get excited about in the way that Marvel is. Like when Marvel announces their phases, you have like a pretty good idea of where they're going. DC still seems very uncertain about their path, at least to us. They're not as transparent.
They're not as transparent, I'll give them that. But at the same time, like, you can have Kevin Feige go, and here's Robert Downey Jr. farting on the snare for 3 hours. Everyone be like, yes, I wanted that story my entire life.
It was based on that comic I grew up on that nobody knows about.
Right. This is the comic where Iron Man actually drinks his own urine for whatever else. Yes, that's all. That's the whole story from beginning to oh my god! Like that's what Marvel can do right now. So, not that I hate Marvel. I love Marvel. I hate some of that other stuff that goes along with it. And finally, we got a great trailer for Sandman. So that's coming out on Netflix. So for those who are uninitiated, a little bit of background on Sandman. There's another world that awaits for all of us who close our eyes and we sleep. It's a place called Dreaming, where the Sandman, master of dreams, gives shape to all of our deepest fears and fantasies. But when Dream is unexpectedly captured and held prisoner for a century, his absence is set off a series of events that will change both the dreaming and waking worlds forever. To restore order, Dream must journey across different worlds and timelines to mend the mistakes he's made during his vast existence, revisiting old friends and foes, meeting new entities, and both cosmic and human along the way. So this is a property that was developed by Neil Gaiman for DC Comics. It is a widely loved series of comics that was produced. Neil Gaiman has actually Neil Gaiman has actually said that he has spent the majority of his life for the last few years trying to make sure that the wrong people did not make this. That's a lot of effort.
Yeah, that's a lot. A lot of people.
That's a lot of effort. So,
looks stunning. Trailer looks stunning.
It does look pretty amazing. And the ensemble cast includes people like Boyd Holbrook, Patton Oswalt, Gwendolyn Christie is Lucifer, Charles Dance, Jenna Coleman. Oh, I love Jenna Coleman. David Thewlis, Stephen Fry. Like, it's got a pretty amazing cast. It looks stunning. What did you guys think about this?
I mean, I think it looks exciting. I'm just curious to see like how many of the endless they actually go through and cover. And how long that's going to stretch out over multiple seasons as it comes through.
Could be fantastic. Could be. That's a hard property to adapt. So I really hope they put the miles in.
What do you think makes it difficult to adapt?
It's a tricky story.
Yeah.
I mean, you really have to read it to understand why it's so tricky, but it's one of those where it works great on a page. I don't know how well it's going to work in a visual medium. Like, well, that's not fair. Comic book. In terms of being realized as it's hard to explain.
It could lend itself
why.
better for animation, but it's gonna be hard to do live action.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just very, very tricky. I think the effects are there, and if you've got the right artists and you put the pieces together well, it could work. But man, you get it wrong, it's going to be cheesy as hell because it's got a very unique tone. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Absolutely, and that's why It's why Neil Gaiman has spent the last 30 years of his life trying to make sure that the bad versions of this never get made.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's there, so it'll be good. I think. I have faith in him.
Yep. He hasn't let us down on some of on his properties that have been turned into movies and shows yet.
Nope. Anything more, John?
Oh, that's what I've got.
All right. So now we're going to move on to my panel and a little bit of Marvel. A lot of bit of Marvel, all about Marvel. But first, Walking Dead. So we did get confirmation the final season is going to start in November 20th. That's the final season, quote unquote. What bullshit. The final season before all the other shows come out, because there's going to be a Tales of the Walking Dead, another spinoff, because we need more spinoffs. But Terry Crews is going to be in that one for at least an episode. So therefore, definitely going to watch at least one episode of that. The Rick Grimes movies that were going to happen, you know how he's going to get 3 movies? Never going to happen, apparently. It's going to be like a 6-part limited series now where Rick and Michonne get together and it's a love story in the apocalypse. And even though Carol is not going with Daryl on his spinoff series, there's still going to be a Daryl and Carol in the future. He assured us that Daryl and Carol they're not done yet. She's just taking a much needed rest. So there you go. And my follow up to all that I just said, is anyone still watching Walking Dead here on the show?
The original series.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Really?
Seriously?
There were 6 episodes of the 10th season that I had not seen yet, and they showed up on Netflix. So I'm watching those 6 episodes. It's when Maggie comes back after the Whisper War. So I'm watching those, and then I will probably pick up AMC Plus just to watch the season 11 content.
That's devotion.
I wasn't like a loyalist where I had to watch it like the night it came out, but I have watched all of the original.
Completionist.
And I've watched 3 seasons of Fear.
Completionist. That's what
Wow.
that is.
I honestly don't know anybody anymore who watches The Walking Dead in any capacity.
The Whisper War brought me back in, I would say.
Which did? The Whisper War?
The Whisper War. Yeah. It was really good.
Man. I watch it whenever Walking Dead cast asks if I want to fill in for them. Then I catch up really, really quick. Mostly by reading Wikipedia. Okay. So now we can finally go to Marvel. That's the big, 1,000-pound gorilla in the room.
Dun.
And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go through this I'm going to try and go through it rather quickly, because otherwise it'll be all night. And we don't want to do that. So here's all the stuff.
Can we call BS though first?
In terms of?
Because D23 told us that we were getting the Fantastic Four movie at the end of Phase 4. Now we're not getting the Fantastic Four movie till Phase 6.
Hey, things change, man. It's the multiverse. It screws everything up. That's what I got.
Fine.
Damn it.
Fine.
All right. So you guys ready to go through? We're going to start with Phase 5, and then we'll go into a little bit of Phase 6, and we're going to see where this is all headed. You ready?
Ready, Freddie.
All right. August 17th, She-Hulk, the Attorney at Law. That is the new series that I have Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters. Yeah. And she's going to be
I did that for
her.
John.
She-Hulk.
And me.
And me.
And you.
I think she's going to be great. I really hope the CGI gets bumped from whatever sci-fi network is doing it currently. But
Seriously, guys, this
a lot
is.
of
Can we
potential.
start a Sonic movement, a Sonic-like movement? Because She-Hulk looks not great at all.
Yeah,
I mean, in
that's
terms
not
of the
good.
CGI.
I just had this. Dave McGraw, I don't know if you're listening, but he and I just got into it on Facebook. Yeah, I shouldn't. Why argue on Facebook? It goes nowhere. But he was telling because he found some YouTube video where VFX artists were arguing that this actually isn't bad. It's actually pretty good. It's just because it's humanistic features and your eye can't. It's really a problem with how you look at the visual. I'm like, no, man. I've been watching movies for my whole life, and I've studied the art behind it. John, you're a visual artist. Bad CGI is bad CGI.
Yeah, you can't miss bad CGI on this.
It's better than it was. It's better than it was.
Yeah. She is still a little Gumby-ish, but the thing I think might be difficult for the CGI on her is that they're trying very hard to keep that soft feminine appeal to her.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
And it's turning a little Gumby-ish.
Or Fiona from Shrek.
Right.
I can see the Shrekness. I mean, not on Tatiana, but like her
No,
character.
she's lovely. Everything about the show I love, except for the effects, like the tone, her performance, everything. Breaking the fourth wall, I thought was actually very clever. There's a lot in it that I think works. It's just the effects are. I mean, obviously it's a trailer. Could be better.
She
before.
played 10 different characters with like no alteration, just costume changes. Like,
Seriously.
they could have just left her the way she was and made her green. You don't have to be super muscular to be strong.
Do it Ferrigno style, right? Just paint her up.
Yeah.
Well, that's coming out in August. And then November 11th, oh, we got this trailer. Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Oh my God.
Now, all we know is that they're obviously mourning. They're going through a mourning period. They're obviously, T'Challa is seemingly dead in this universe, and which would make sense with Chadwick Boseman passing away. But we also get the rest of the cast. Lupita Nyong'o's in here. Letitia Wright's in here. She's got top billing. And then at the end of the trailer, you see someone has donned the Black Panther costume. They have not said who that someone is. My guess would be Letitia Wright, his sister, Shuri, is going to be the one that's donning it. But that's a guess. I don't know that for certain. Anybody have an opinion? Guess?
That's the going in assumption.
It was a great trailer, though. Really, really moving. Really moving. All right, that's the end of Phase 4.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Actually, there's something else that we forgot to mention in this.
What?
In the trailer is the first shot we get to see of Namor.
Oh, yeah. He's basically Aquaman in Marvel.
Yeah, he's Marvel's Aquaman. He's supposed to be like smart Aquaman, as what Namor kind of is. Also, something that I noticed on one of my watchings of this trailer was that I'm pretty sure that we see Riri Williams in this, who's Ironheart, for those who don't know. But Riri,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is going to be their way of introducing us to Riri Williams, because at one point you see Shuri do the hug another girl, and then that later on in the trailer, that other girl is carving out a heart in a piece of steel that's kind of chest shaped. So I'm pretty sure we're going to actually see Ironheart as well.
Okay. Well, that's coming up. That's part of Phase 5. So moving on to Phase 5, I'll be a little quicker as we go here, because now we're just racking them up. So Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania comes out February 17th, 2023. That's the first film of Phase 5. And that's going to be the introduction of Kang the Conqueror, who's played by Jonathan Majors, in the universe, in the MCU. Now, granted, it wasn't Loki, but we're talking the cinematic universe. So this is the first time we see him in the movies. And he's going to meet Scott Lang, and there's going to be some issues along the way where he has to deal with his daughter Cassie. Hope returns, Hank returns, Janet returns. So the gang's all there, and I believe there's a cool cameo from one Bill Murray at some point, because he showed up in Hall H. It's very public. This is not a spoiler. It's all over the place.
Is there a micro cage match though? For Quantum Mania?
Maybe. But it's a very important film, because Kang is going to be part of the Phase 6 Avengers movies, which I'll talk about in a minute. So pay attention to Kang, because he's going to show up in different forms throughout the movies, unless I'm mistaken. He's going to be like a formidable opponent, and unlike Thanos, he's going to show up in different forms, unless they've changed something about Kang. But that's the Kang that I know of from the comics, that he can kind of change form. Am I misremembering that, John? You're a little comic aficionado.
It sounds about right. There's different, what they're hinting at through Loki was that there are different visages for Kang.
Sure. And you might get a shot of MODOK in that, so keep an eye out. Secret Invasion is a TV series coming spring 2023. It's going to be at Disney Plus, and that's where Kobe Smulders is going to team up again with Nick Fury, Sam L. Jackson's Nick Fury, and we're also going to get the Skrulls are going to be involved. You're going to get Rhodey's going to be involved. You're going to get Everett Ross, Martin Freeman's character. Then Amelia Clark is going to be in this at some point. And it's a very paranoia, foreboding kind of tale. It's supposed to be like a dark and gritty political thriller, very much akin to like Winter Soldier. And that's going to be part of Phase 5. Comes out spring 2023. Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's coming out May 5th, 2023. They actually launched the trailer, but the effects weren't done, so they haven't released that to the public. So keep an eye out. I'll bet you it's coming soon, because I'm sure they've got a bunch of crappy copies floating around the internet, and Disney does not want you to watch that. They want you to see the sexy stuff. So keep an eye out for that. And, it sounds like it's going to be much more about a tale about Rocket. And also we're going to get a little Will Poulter as Adam Warlock in this. So that's pretty exciting. Then in summer 2023, we get the Echo TV series, which is based around the character from the Hawkeye series. If you haven't seen that, be sure to watch that. She's actually a very cool character. Loki season 2 comes out summer 2023 as well. So we're going back to that. No word on if everybody from season 2 is returning, but I'm sure we're going to get more of Loki making out with himself, essentially. That'll be important. Any of these getting people excited yet? Or are these pretty much like, okay, so far?
Most of it's okay.
I'm excited about a lot of it, especially the Hawkeye character and Loki.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really liked Loki, and Echo was a cool character, so I'm interested in those.
I do believe that there is some talk that we're going to be seeing Matt Murdock show up in Echo, but I think
Shh. You're spoiling me. I wasn't there yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Son
But
of a
we
bitch.
did forget to mention that in the trailer for She-Hulk, at the very end of the trailer, you can't miss Daredevil.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we're just going to go ahead and spoil my big thing there. But yes, Daredevil is definitely coming back to the MCU, and I'll talk more about what he's getting, but he will be popping up in random shows. So I hope you really love Daredevil, because Daredevil's coming
Give
back.
me Punisher.
Yeah, that's what I want is Punisher.
Give me Punisher.
I love the comic Daredevil. I have never loved Charlie Cox's performance of Matt Murdock. I've always thought he was rather mundane. And D'Onofrio was great in The Rage, but everything else was cheesy. So I'm glad Daredevil's back. I don't love Charlie Cox, but it's under new management. So it could be completely different. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with it. Now, the first movie that gets me excited in this phase is November 3rd, 2023, when Blade is finally hitting theaters. Now, I'm pretty sure it's going to be PG-13. Really curious how they're going to make that work. But I think they can do it. You can get away with a lot of violence in PG-13 these days.
You
But
just
Disney
might
does
not
art
hear
now.
too much about motherfuckers ice skating uphill.
Yeah, that's true.
Roller skating.
No, it was ice skating.
You sure?
Positive.
All right.
1,000% positive. And the fact that you want to question me on this is making me sad for you. Because I got this shit. I got a tattoo on most of this quote, man. Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. Mahershala Ali is going to be Blade. Some people have called it The Blade. I don't know why they said that, because the title card is very clear that it's just Blade. And by the way, I can almost hear in my head John Googling what's the quote from Blade, and also being very disappointed when he realizes how right Amanda and I are on this.
No, I've absolutely moved on for the moment.
It's you who's still stuck on it. You're that offended.
I am
He's
that
like,
offended.
how could you
get that
think
wrong?
that I don't know this?
Jesus.
I'm currently trying to figure out what the hell went wrong with the crypto market today.
That explains a lot. So Ironheart comes out fall of 2023. That is the character that John was talking about. I don't know anything about Ironheart, but apparently Riri is the character that was in that. Apparently you called that. Yeah, same actress.
Yep, same actress, same name. So we are going to be seeing Ironheart, which Ironheart is Iron Man, but different.
Yeah, but different.
Oh, because she did knock out the heart of Iron in the trailer as well.
That's what John said.
I know that, but now I'm just acting like I don't know what he said. No, I didn't. I missed that. He said that part. Sorry. I did miss that. I apologize. Then coming up next, winter 2023/2024. So sometime in the winter, Agatha, Coven of Chaos.
Yes!
Catherine Hahn is returning as, Agatha Harkness. And it's going to be her own Disney Plus series because she was such a fan favorite.
I really hope that that's like they make a really quippy theme song for her that everyone can sing along with, like we did with her song in WandaVision.
I'm excited for that, not because of the character of Agatha, but 100% because it's Catherine Hahn.
Really? So
Yeah.
Did you not like her as Agatha, or?
No, I loved her as Agatha, but I honestly wouldn't care about the character of Agatha if it wasn't for Catherine Hahn, because I think she's amazing.
She is amazing. I'll give you that for sure. I am happy they changed the name of this, though, because I didn't like the previous name. Agatha House of Harkness. That's fine. But Agatha Coven of Chaos, it just sounds more bombastic and fun.
Okay.
I'm excited
for you.
Excited.
Well, then we go to Daredevil Born Again, which is, I assume, launching off the storyline in the comics for Born Again. But the comic, I think that series is only like 7 or 8 issues. It wasn't very long. But they have an 18-episode order for the first season. This is going to be like a network TV show.
That's just insane. So I wonder if it's going to be something where they're like, and here's Black Panther, and here's Ironheart, and here's Daredevil, just working with a whole bunch of different people.
It's got to be, right? Because 18 episodes, they haven't done any shows with 18 episodes before.
No.
It's actually a 9-episode season 1 and a 9-episode season 2. They're just doing it back to back.
It could. I guess it could be. But that's a long series for Disney, unless, there's a lot. I'm sure they put a lot of thought into this. I'm sure there's a very good reason for it. We haven't been
all the
told
content
about
has to be out in order for it to fit in the timeline because COVID messed up the whole Phase 4, Phase 5, Phase 6 plan, like moving Fantastic Four from Phase 4 to Phase 6.
Could be.
He's also popping up in a lot of stories. Yeah. So there's a lot of other connections that they're going to have to involve. It's not just a Daredevil show. And I think on top of that, it may be also a way to honor the longer episodes or the longer seasons that occurred with Netflix.
Disney doesn't give 2 shits about that.
Disney doesn't care about that. I mean, it's sweet of you to think, but Disney don't care. Hey, so I've been picking up on a theme here, but now, Troy, you don't have to answer this. Does anyone else get the feeling that Troy is upset that they moved Fantastic Four?
No, not at all.
I feel like show me on the Mr. Rubber guy where he hurt you.
Troy, he means, not me.
Yeah, well, I know where you get hurt.
I'm just saying, baby. I was all stoked when Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness came out and there was a Fantastic Four appearance, and now you're telling me I got to wait 2 more years for my damn movie? Like, no.
Oh, you know what? Even better than that, they're already talking about the fact that John Krasinski isn't going to be the MCU's Reed Richards.
I know.
I think it's a bummer if they go that way. Honestly, people were very excited about that.
I do too.
Like stood up and fist bumped the air.
You stood up and what?
I was like,
yeah. I stood up and fisted Reed Richards right there in the screen.
What is happening? All right.
John is a sexy man, not this John Krasinski.
Well, we're coming back to Fantastic Four, so hang tight. But we're getting a lot of Daredevil. So if you don't, man, I haven't loved Charlie Cox, but I better learn to because he's going to be everywhere I look, apparently.
You're going to have to really, really get in touch with your love of Charlie Cox.
And he's going to be in the Avengers movie.
He's going to be so rich, too.
Yeah.
What does he have to get in love with Charlie?
Because he's going to be in all this stuff.
It's I can see them try to turn Daredevil into the glue that holds the MCU together. That's pretty possible.
I suppose. I don't like it. Put it this way. I'm trusting the new management is going to I've always felt his performance was flat. I just never really got, I know that character. So next to Spider-Man, Daredevil's my favorite comic book character next to Spider-Man. So it's not far off.
Interesting.
I love Daredevil. I have so many issues of Daredevil. I obsessed about him as a kid because he was a guy who overcame a lot of shortcomings he has no superpowers. He's just somebody who honed his ability. Well, I guess he has one. It's kind of superpower, but he's honed his abilities to be the best guy that he can be and the best hero he can be, even though he has quote unquote a handicap. He's very handicapable. So I love that character, and the character himself is a really intriguing guy. And I feel like Charlie Cox hasn't really made him as he was always interesting when he was with someone else, never by himself. That was my problem with Charlie Cox's performance. If he had,
and do you feel good about D'Onofrio? Because D'Onofrio's returning in his role too.
Nope. I know people will be like, D'Onofrio, man, Michael Clark Duncan blew him away as far as I'm concerned. And I know he passed away, so you can't have him. D'Onofrio is great with the rage. When he has a rage outburst, I mean, he's Full Metal Jacket. He's right back in it. But when he's doing everything else that's required of him, when he's longing for his love and everything else, I just feel like that is some Knots Landing level cheese right there. That is Dynasty all the way, baby. I mean, I'm just waiting for him to put on that J.R. Ewing hat and just take it away. So,
Okay, so you just did Knots Landing,
and
Dynasty,
Dallas. And
Dallas.
Dynasty. Yep.
Holy shit.
Trifecta.
Yeah, that was impressive. That was all off the top of your head. Yeah, that was...
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys. The
Like-
80s were a tough year.
Like the
It
only
was
one you
year.
missed.
For me, it was 1 year. It wasn't
Yeah.
even a decade.
The only one you missed was Falcon Crest.
Oh, I'll come back to it.
All right.
I'll figure something out. Moving on to this damn phase that has so much stuff. Captain America New World Order, May 3rd, 2024. That's where Sam Wilson finally takes over as Captain America. I know he has officially become Captain America, but we finally get a movie of Captain America, and I'm really looking forward to that. I hope they take some chances and do some cool stuff with it.
Yeah, me too. I'm down for that.
July 25th, 2024. I'm pretty excited for this. Phase 5 ends with Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad, Thunderbolts, which is a team-up film with a bunch of MCU anti-heroes. It's got Valencia Allegra de Fontaine, Julia Louise-Dreyfus, and she's heading up the Thunderbolts with Baron Zemo, Yelena Belova, Ghost, Abomination, John Walker, and Taskmaster. So, I mean, you're talking, and they've been building this up for a little while. So if you're paying attention, especially in the series, the shows, they've been building these characters up.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yelena Belova alone will get me, Florence Pugh will get me to watch this. Like, more than anything else, I will literally throw dollar bills.
She's the better Black Widow. But she really is the better Black Widow of the two Black Widows.
You're right though.
She really is. Like, there's just like I mean, hands down, she's got all the like the character, all the ability, and you know, Scarlet has nothing on her. I'm excited to see Madam Hydra, who is Julia Louise-Dreyfus, and I'm surprised they're going the Abomination route versus going Red Hulk, because that would actually be much cooler. But they already have Abomination in the MCU, so I guess that works. But they could have done, although he has just recently passed, but they could have done full on Red Hulk with James Thunderbolt Ross, which is where the Thunderbolts get their name from.
All right, well, that's coming. I'm looking forward to it. Now, Troy, I'm going to throw this to you. So on November 8th, 2024, it's the beginning of Phase 6, and it's going to start with Fantastic Four. And I believe Victor Von Doom, Dr. Doom, is going to play a very important role in this. And this is going to be the inspiration for the final movie in the multiverse saga. So, or you know, before you get to Avengers and all that stuff. So what do you think about Fantastic Four? And I don't know if it's actually going to be, it's actually the first movie in that Phase 6. So there's no way.
I don't think it's going to be that important to Troy, honestly.
You know,
No, I mean, but really
it?
it's more of the fact that it's going to be pushed out again into Phase 8, so it's not even worth talking about because they just don't want to do anything from the old Fox series in the right way. So
Because
I'm just
it
excited that they were going to
sucks.
bring something in from the start to move into the X-Men arena. Like, I think that's where it's all going to end eventually in Phase 7, 8, 9, 10. So this was like the excitement of like shifting gears from classic superheroes into the X-Men side. But unfortunately, it's going to get pushed out again.
I have a little bit of reservation about Josh Trank, who is the writer for the 2015 Fantastic Four, being the director for this new one.
He's not the director for this.
Mm-hmm.
No way.
Nope. 100% not.
I thought that that's who replaced John Watts.
No, they would never, ever put Josh Trank back in charge of Fantastic Four. They would
Okay,
never,
all right.
ever.
That
never
got me
would
like
ever
really
happen.
worried when I saw that somewhere.
That is probably one of those junk sites that is just trying to get clicks. No, he is not
It's called
involved.
fan fiction. We talked about that earlier.
That's not
Hey.
the kind of fandom that we want to be seeing. No,
but you
we're
click
good.
it. But people will click that. So
No. This wasn't on this wasn't on one of those junk sites. I swear it wasn't. But I don't remember where I saw it.
I promise you, it will not be. No, there's no way. So
Josh Trank has burnt so many bridges because of the Fantastic Four movie,
Yes.
and then if he ran out of bridges, he'd build more bridges just so he can burn them.
Yeah, he's not beloved. And then I want to point out before I mention the last two movies, not even the last two, but there are actually, God, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 other properties surrounding the final two that aren't named yet. So Marvel has a bunch of other stuff that they haven't even named yet, but they are giving us a hint in what the next Avengers movies are going to be. So Avengers, the first Avengers is going to be the Kang Dynasty. It's going to come out May 2nd, 2025. And that's, I assume, Kang the Conqueror is going to be a big factor of that. And then November 7th, 2025. And in between, there's going to be another movie. I'm guessing it's Spider-Man, most likely, but they haven't announced it yet. But I'm guessing it's going to be a Tom Holland Spider movie because the next Avengers film is centered around something where Spider-Man is very prominent in the comic version. And that's the Avengers Secret Wars. So Secret Wars points to a Marvel Comics crossover miniseries from 2015 that is it's a big multiverse comic series. So that's...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. It could be huge. It could be absolutely huge. But
Yeah,
there also was a mid-'80s Secret Wars miniseries. So, I mean, I don't know which way they're going with this, but I'm thinking it's the multiverse, the most recent one. What do you think? What are you getting excited about?
Well, I just get excited about the idea of doing Secret Wars because maybe I'm confusing them a bit, but like Secret Wars goes back to the idea of superheroes having to give out their identities, and Spider-Man's in the center of it because like he's trying to keep his identity a secret, and this is another one of those times where Iron Man and Captain America are split in which side they're taking on this whole thing.
Right.
And that would involve Doctor Doom, right?
He's part of that, yeah. He's part of that. I think Kang was too. So, I mean, it could be another one of those Infinity War deals where that's just it ends on a cliffhanger because they're coming out very close. They're coming out in the same year. I will be surprised if that still holds. Like it would be surprising to me if they wouldn't push it out to like the next May or something, but that's what they're saying as of right now. My God, it's so much. It's a lot. Now that I've got all that said, I just want to ask you guys, in terms of all the Marvel news, too much Marvel, enough to get you really excited? Where are you at with all these announcements?
Too much.
Too much? Oversaturation?
Yeah, they should have just focused on what's coming in the next 12 to 18 months and not just gone out so far.
Well, this speaks to the idea because I know we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the show, or we talked about it during the bonus episode. But like we are feeling a little bit like Marvel has blown their wad and they don't know where they're going with everything because this phase that we're currently in hasn't been the greatest of phases, and you can probably blame the pandemic for that or not, but we're not the only voices out there saying that there's something up with this phase, and so Marvel probably felt like they had to come out swinging so that they can maintain their what's a good word for domination? Domination. Their domination on the whole comic book arena and keep everyone fed well on, this is what we're really going to be doing while, when this starts coming out.
I wouldn't say that I'm feeling oversaturated by how much content there is. I'm feeling appreciative that I can see the progression of where they're going with this and at least start to theorize and develop, what I can outline what things I'm excited for and develop my own concepts of what I hope happens. So I'm not opposed at all for them giving me their outline. I actually really appreciate that there is a plan that goes that far, that there's something in place like that. I'm looking forward to a lot of their content, but I cannot say that I'm looking forward to all of their content. And if I don't get a damn Punisher return, scrap all of this because I don't care.
And if they could do this for Marvel, where's my Star Wars timeline? That's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's a good point, for sure.
Damn.
Get me excited about the Star Wars universe again. I don't care about the Marvel universe anymore. Get me excited about the Star Wars universe.
Oh, because of Fantastic Four, you're like, once they change that, I just
He's like, screw this.
I've had it.
Krasinski or bust. That's where I'm at right now.
There's no Deadpool 3 on the lineup. I mean, come on.
That's what I'm pissed about. All these freaking movies, and I don't get a Deadpool 3 yet. They keep saying, "Oh yeah, we're working on it." I feel like you're just massaging me massaging my temple before you hit me with the bad news, man.
Well, I feel like the Guardians movie got pushed out again farther. It was supposed to be the end of this year. Now it's the next year.
It
Okay,
did,
but we're still in a pandemic, so I give them some leniency when it comes to
Well, that movie's
pushing
done.
We're
dates
always
and
going to be in a
stuff.
pandemic. The monkeypox thing is like taking over the world now. It's
That's
like it
true.
doesn't matter anymore. Get your shots, take the pills, go to the theater.
Troy's just
Troy's
like,
over
whatever they
it.
tell you to take it, just do it. Get to the theater. I got to see my Adam Warlock movie. Got to see Rocket Raccoon. Now, see, those effects look great. And I've seen what raccoons look like. Doesn't mess me up. Stupid Hulk. That Hulk, She-Hulk is...
So it's a TV show, not a movie.
yeah, I guess they put more money into it.
They
But that's
have
it with
enough
Comic-Con,
money;
man.
they
I
can make
think
her
we are
look
good.
better.
I mean, she looks great. She doesn't need any help.
Nope.
And yet you still refuse to finish Orphan Black.
I wasn't enthralled by it, man. I
True.
watched it. She did great. I just, too many shows. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you a little secret. Half of the Marvel shows that are out, I haven't finished. Half of them.
I finished one.
So there's going to be a point where you and I are watching these Marvel movies going, who's that dude? Who the hell's that guy? Who's that lady? Is she something important? I don't know. Oh,
I
you
think it's
gotta-
great.
And then some fan is going to be like, well, you should have watched all the Marvel. You know what? I got tired of you telling me what I had to watch, and I just stopped. Thanks.
Yeah, by the time 2025 rolls around, we'll all be like, get off my lawn.
Exactly.
Give me the Deadpool 4.
If you're going to make movies with these characters, you better figure out how to introduce them to people that haven't watched the show, because we ain't alone. We ain't
Yep.
alone.
But seriously, like, why haven't they done this with the Star Wars timeline? Like, seriously, like, I just don't get it.
Because Kathleen Kennedy has no idea how to run that.
There's that, and
Well,
also, wasn't there supposed to be usually around May the 4th? There's usually a big Star Wars event where they're showing you their timelines and what they're doing. And didn't we get that this year or no?
There was an event, but it wasn't super huge.
Oh, well, that sounds like they dropped the ball. So that's no surprise.
That's no ball.
I mean, they haven't announced a movie in a long time.
Yeah,
They
the
keep
last
announcing-
one, the last one was Patty's space fighter plate Top Gun episode,
Mm-hmm. Which is what? Canceled, right?
I guess.
And I think we know people would love to see that. A space battle movie? Hell yeah.
It seemed pretty cool when she came out and teased it. So
Yep. Oh, well. Well, that's going to do it for Comic-Con. So share your thoughts on this episode or anything else in our Facebook group or on Twitter @BuyPopcorn, or our site is thehollywoodoutsider.com. Rate and subscribe us on your preferred podcast app. You can find John's artwork on Insta or Twitter @RJohnDraws, Amanda and Veronica's Marshmallows and Smirk or at Sink Into This, Troy @Troy Heinritz and the Blacklist Exposed and Beyond Westworld with me. And I'm on Presenting Hitchcock and @Aaron Smirks as well. So that's going to do it. Amanda and John are taking off. So El Diverche.
See y'all later. Enjoy your Nope conversation. How ironic that I'm the one who hasn't seen it.
I just said a whole lot of words and I was muted.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter.
say bye, John.
Bye.
Okay, so Troy and I are going to talk about Nope. That's right. We're going to talk about Jordan Peele's Nope. Now, we're going to do this a little different because this episode's already gone a little bit longer than we intended, but we want to talk about this movie because there's some specific things we want to talk about. Overall, the film revolves around OJ and his sister, Emerald, who are running Haywood Hollywood Farms after their father passes away very mysteriously because of some metallic object fell from the sky.
A coin.
A coin.
specifically.
Essentially, what happens is they begin to
Debris falls
suspect.
debris falls out of the sky, like a plane blows up or something.
There you go. Yeah, we don't know what it is. I'm trying to be non-spoiler for this portion. And they are trying to capture on film a shot of what they think is a UFO. And that's what the movie revolves around. Now, we're going to get into heavy spoilers because we want to talk about the actual things that happen in it. But I want to cover it for anybody that's thinking about seeing the movie. If $10 is the full price of admission, I really like this film. I think it definitely is a little slower paced than previous Jordan Peele films. I give it $7. You can read my full review on the site. But when I left, I kind of was at a 5.5 to 6. But after contemplation and really thinking on it, I'm a big fan of if a movie keeps you thinking, it's better than you thought it was. And so because I keep going back to it, and I really, really, really enjoyed a lot of the filmmaking aspects, especially. It's very beautifully shot, and it's basically Jaws in the clouds. It really worked for me overall, especially after I sat and pondered on it. So I gave it 7. What would you give it if $10 is full price of admission before we move on?
I was 7 when I left the theater and 7 still today. Primarily because the front matter of of it is pretty slow.
It does take a minute to get going.
Yeah. Once it gets going, though, oh my gosh, super good.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to say. If you haven't seen Nope, I recommend you turn this off because we're going to get into spoilers right now. Right now. Just hit stop, giving you a second to push the button. There you go. You're free and clear. Okay, I want to talk about this.
Yeah, because you can't talk about it without talking about it.
Really? That's the hard part about talking about this movie. It's very, the details are important. So I will say, like, there's one aspect I want to get out of the way. The whole Gordy show, where they're talking about the chimpanzee show where the chimp went nuts, killed a bunch of people, and then connected with Jupe, with Stephen Young's character. You know, a lot of people have seen the movie and they didn't understand what the connection was. So I'm going to tell you what I think the connection is, and you tell me if you agree, right? Mm-hmm. To me, the entire movie revolves around spectacle, right? To me, Jordan Peele is trying to make a film about getting that one shot, how we're all obsessed with fame, how we're obsessed with getting that, we're obsessed with spectacle. People in Hollywood are obsessed with spectacle. Everything's about that perfect shot. And it's kind of a lot of things at once. But the connection with Stephen Young's character and why that Gordy subplot is there is because as a kid, he saw this wild animal that probably wasn't treated great and snapped. And he thought he formed a connection right at the end of it. And that's why he believes he could tame a predator. I think he believes that because, the chimp wasn't going to kill him, that maybe he had a connection. And maybe this time if I treat it right, this predator will be okay and won't kill people and I can tame it. I think that's the vibe I got because OJ makes references to you can't tame a predator. You can't do that. It's just not going to happen. Where I think that's what Ricky Jupe was trying to do. And I think that was the connection. Do you agree with that? Do you see it a different way?
I mean, connecting from his childhood to his adulthood and why he's running the greatest show in the West.
Yeah, why he's doing it that way, why he's basically feeding this thing, every week.
Yeah, I think your connection is spot on. The Gordy parts specifically, though, I think are more tied into one of the bigger problems that we have in society, especially when you think about era that TV show aired, is it's really about, people that are minorities and underserved and underrepresented. And this was the same thing where you had Jupe being the young Asian boy where his parents were white and his sister was white. And his sister comes out with a bigger present than the one that Jupe got for Gordy. And so it's literally saying to us as the viewers that, oh, hey, look, this is the token Asian kid in this TV show. And Gordy was the ape. Obviously, there's been a lot of references to apes to black people. So here's this black person we're supposed to be putting on a spectacle for and making fun of. And then you're like, oh, you want a show? Oh, fine. This is what you want? Fine, I'll give you a show. And then Gordy obviously snaps and murders the entire audience and the cast, except for Jupe, because when he sees that Jupe is there, they know they have that connection, and he goes to do the fist bump, before obviously he gets shot by whoever comes in to come in.
So you think you went deep into racial undertones?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure. I mean, it's from Jordan Peele specifically. So, I mean, there's got to be a level of racial undertone to it. I mean, it even goes back to why they chose Hayward specifically, because the jockey on the back of the horse.
Haywood. I made that mistake too. Yeah. I made it in my review once. I had to actually, I made a boo-boo.
Haywood, the jockey on the back of the horse, in the first moving picture, was a black jockey. And that's where Haywood comes from, is from that. That's how Haywood Ranches starts, is from that whole concept. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that it's again, you don't remember who the jockey was on the horse. You just remember that a moving picture was made by a white person. And so I think there's a lot of good racial undertones that Jordan Peele does in this movie to bring those to the forefront. That's
interesting. I didn't look at it that way, and I probably should have. That's a good call. Daniel Kaluuya as OJ and Keke Palmer, who's been around for a long time, but has never really, I don't think, had an opportunity like this as Emerald, as brother and sister. I mean, they couldn't be any further apart performance-wise and character-wise. Like, they are completely different. He plays it very, very, I referred to him in my review as like Gary Cooper-like. He's very much that Western style, because this has a lot of different genres mixed into it, like Western, sci-fi, a lot of different comedy, a lot of different stuff, horror. But I really got that vibe that he was going for that Gary Cooper silent Western hero, man of action, man of duty, man of honor, that kind of thing. And she's just a poppin' live wire. Like she's just, she wants the instant fame. She's the influencer of today, or probably the early 2000s, which is, I think, when this took place. Both of them, I think, knocked it out of the park. I think Daniel Kaluuya is just one of the best actors working. He's just a guy that's instant cool. He just has a presence to him. And even though he's not super energetic in this role, he still brings energy. Like he just has an energy about him. And Keke Palmer, I just thought, made Emerald, a real character by the end, where I think she starts as like a caricature, but as the film goes on, she gets deeper and deeper, and you start seeing like she's becoming the woman that her brother always knew she could be, but she chose not to be.
And she's the one that's obsessed with getting the shot. So that way she can get the fame that she wants as the.
And he just wants to save his ranch, or their ranch. Yeah.
What little money he's got left.
And that's where the spectacle comes in for me, because there's so much of it. There's a lot of Hollywood here that's at play, and a lot of it is based on getting that shot. I mean, you even have Michael Wincott, who shows up as probably the best named character I've seen in forever in Antlers. Just Antlers Holst is his name. It's just a freaking Hollywood name. It's such a Hollywood name, but he's this perfect photographer. And when you watch the film, there's a moment where he gets a shot, but he doesn't get the perfect shot, and he runs off and basically puts himself in danger's way, because he's the same problem that he was talking about when he's talking to Emerald earlier. He's like, you never answer that question, or whatever that line was.
Yeah, how extreme can you go?
Yeah, and he wants that perfect shot. He puts his life on the line to get that perfect shot, which is what, unfortunately, a lot of people do. And
he put his life on the line because he wanted the shot from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
perfect
really
shot. The perfect shot. He just wanted that shot. He wanted to die knowing he got it. And then you also have Angel, who's Brandon Pereira, who's basically the comic relief. And he's good, but he doesn't really blow any doors off or anything. So what did you think performance-wise? Did anybody stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, Keke obviously does a really great job. You really come to grow to like her towards the end of the movie. Daniel obviously does a fantastic job in his role as well. There's just a lot to like about the performances, the pacing, the action, how they work together to make the plan come together at the end is pretty fantastic. Jordan does a really great job setting up the story and having the Chekhov's gun play off perfectly when it has to play off for things that you thought you saw really early on that you don't expect to see later on and that comes back.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, I think it's a pretty well executed film. I didn't understand why they have to have Keke doing the vaping. I thought that was a little bit crass personally, since vaping creates such a stigma, and it's really bad for the high school kids that are doing it with popcorn lung and all the metals and stuff that vaping does. This is an opportunity that he could have not had her do that, because a lot of those kids are going to go see this movie.
Speaking of that generation, probably. I mean,
that kind of, it's like, really? Like, that was the only real takeaway problem I had. But all in all, I really thought the alien was really well done. I thought when you see what the alien really is at the end of the movie, I thought it was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting at all.
Let's talk about that. So the concept is, at the very beginning, the first half of the movie, we think it's a spaceship, right? We just get the vibe it's a spaceship. And, we see this done 1,000 times. Okay, we're going to see little green men at some point. And then you come to find out that this is the alien. This is the monster. And it's actually
a singular
eating.
Life form.
Yeah, it's a life form, and it's eating people. It is the purple people eater.
It is really War of the Worlds.
What did you think of this concept?
I thought it was great. Really? I thought it was really interesting to see, how they played on our expectations around a flying saucer, to the point where it even had the black disc on the bottom of the flying saucer, which was obviously the orifice that he was sucking everything up and eating the people through, and then ejecting out the things that it couldn't digest. Which is why the coin obviously kills his dad in the beginning of the movie, because Jupe is actually like serving up people at a show to the predator, every week. The biggest thing that I found interesting was just what it was. I mean, it was like a giant jellyfish / sail barge / I don't know. It was just really, really fascinating, to the point where, like, when they finally do get the shot, it actually looks like a butterfly. Like, it's actually like a cocoon it turned into a new thing.
Once it expanded fully.
Right. Once it expanded. And then you're like thinking like, oh, that's exactly what, we had happen here. You had Daniel, his character, he transformed from a simpleton Western cowboy, do the duty, to, all on action hero, which you would then, subscribe him into a Hollywood movie. And then you had Kiki, who was the, wild and crazy, out there influencer who transformed into this badass, going to do everything I can to protect my brother and protect my family, really coming more back to her dad's kind of roots. So there was just a lot of transformation that happens in this episode, which leads up to the final shot that we see. And you are left wondering, was there another transformation that happened there or not?
Yeah. And I will say, what I found fascinating is the way that Jordan Peele shoots this movie. It's very much like Jaws or Tremors in the clouds. It's a menace, but it's very much an unseen menace for a great portion of the movie. We only get bits and pieces, and they really play with lighting and atmosphere, and that whole scene at night with the rain, where the thing is covering the house and it's basically bleeding all over the house. The blood of others is bleeding all over the house. And then, it hovers over OJ's truck as he gets closer, and he just stays in the truck. He's like, nope. And he keeps checking. There's a lot of beautiful cinematography here.
Yeah, the power line shot along the mountains, and then having the power lines go out one by one as the alien is flying around the valley.
Mm-hmm.
And then the power lines come back up again, and just the dimming of the lights and the loss of electricity and the loss of power and sound and music, and just that ramp down and then the ramp back up, as the alien moved around from different areas, and how they use that to actually track and find the alien. I thought that was really fascinating as well, because it plays on all of the alien stereotypes that we've seen. Like if alien encounter is going to happen, your radio is going to freak out, your lights are going to turn on and off, and they play with all of that stuff in this movie, like you would assume, but that's not really an alien spaceship; it's actually an alien itself.
And I like how they use all the different opportunities to basically give this alien indigestion.
Yeah.
Like that's the weapon of choice. And I think that's fascinating. I thought that was hysterical. And essentially, Emerald kills the alien with, something it shouldn't have ate. Basically, it exploded in its stomach, essentially, right? It's like Jaws.
Yeah.
The tank in the mouth, poof, essentially that's what happened.
Sucked up a Mark's Big Boy balloon.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. And I love the ad that if you don't look directly at it, it won't eat you, which, that's obviously, horror movies always have their own rules, which happens. And I like that because it really played into how the movie played out. It gave them opportunities. And, also, some of the factors of the fact that this was its own monster saved characters like Angel was wrapped up in barbed wire, which is a big reason why he was saved, because he's too painful to eat,
Right.
And I love the early shots where you kind of get a look inside the stomach or mouth or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, the rectangle.
Yeah, because you don't know what it is at first. Then as you learn, you're like, oh, that's gross.
And there's the one scene where it's like the woman's in there and the walls squishing in and like almost suffocating her and closing in tighter and tighter. Yeah, so good.
So which part of the ending is the important part that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think the final shot after obviously Kiki saves the day, gets the shot on the picture from the well, and then she looks up and there's like a sign that says out there,
out yonder,
out yonder.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath the sign is where Daniel Kaluuya's character is standing or sitting on a horse. And what happens prior to that is that he's actually luring the alien away so Kiki Palmer's character can escape and get to the ranch theme park. And so you're assuming that because he looked the alien directly in the face, mouth, whatever, that the alien actually did eat Daniel Kaluuya's character.
Mm-hmm.
And so when she's seeing him there, you don't know if she's actually seeing him alive or if she's seeing him dead because of the out yonder statement above his head.
Yeah, you and I talked about this after we both saw the movie, because my wife is very adamant that he lived, because she likes happy endings. Okay, fine. But when I'm watching it, same thing as you. You've got between the two, the monsters between the two of them, and he's doing the "I'm watching you" thing, which is a nod back to a story that she told before. and he's recognizing that, yeah, I remember that very clearly. And also that I see you, I see what you are capable of. That's the vibe I got. To me, that was him saying, I know who you are. Be that person. That's what I got from that back and forth.
Like, I'm willing to sacrifice myself because you're going to make something bigger of yourself.
Because you can do this. You can get this done. One of us isn't going to make it. I'm giving you the shot. And so he looks directly at it. And same as what you were just saying, to me, that means he died because he knew very well he shouldn't look directly at it, and he did anyway. And then you see the cloud of dust and you don't see what happens to him. And then, she goes off, she gets the picture, she gets the great shot, and she also kills the alien. And then she sees that her brother. Now, her brother is it's very dusty. You can't really get a clear vision of that. He doesn't move on that horse. He's very static, and you don't see or hear from him. You don't see clearly him or hear from him at all. And it does
no body
have that
movement, no head nod,
nothing.
No wink of the eye, nothing.
So it's very much shot so that you make the determination. Like, you get to leave the theater with however you want to see it, which I like that because it lets people have a conversation about it. You know what I mean? I very much think he's dead, and she's just seeing what she wanted to see in that moment. What say you?
I'm still 50-50 on it because, you see the dust cloud start to form as she kind of pulls away. But as she pulls away, she's also screaming at the alien, and it starts to turn around. So there's part of me that thinks like it turned around faster and never finished actually sucking up her brother.
Yeah, and this is the only reason I mentioned my wife is because she had said the reason why I think he's still alive in that moment is because when the alien was over her, you didn't hear any screaming.
Right.
And you did every other time, someone was just eating and they were hovering over another person. So that was her argument. Now I say, I don't think OJ's going to scream. He's just not a screamer. So I could make both cases on that one.
He's also a very quiet talker.
Yeah, very, very quiet. He's like, oh, you're eating me. Ow, ow, ow. You know what I mean? But are you happy with that kind of ending? Would you rather have something more definitive?
No, I think that's what really made the movie for me. Like, I was like maybe 6, maybe 550, just because the beginning was so slow. And then because it was like, oh yeah, man, I don't know if he was able to do it or not. Like, I don't know. And so then it makes you think, and you're like, yeah, no, that's good. That's good. 7.
Now that further brings me to Jordan Peele as a filmmaker. Now he's 3 movies in. He's done. I think this is really more of a mainstream blockbuster. I think it's gonna be very polarizing for people because they want more faster, kill, and it's a slower movie. But what do you think in terms of Jordan Peele as a filmmaker? Do you feel like he is the real deal? You feel like it's an M. Night situation where it's diminishing returns? What do you think?
I think it just depends on how many movies he cranks out and how fast they come out. So if he gives like every 2-3 years, maybe there's a movie, get some time in between each thing. I think then you get the sense of a wanting or a longing for a Jordan Peele movie, where if he's cranking one out every year, then I think then you get the oversaturation. I like what he's done so far with the 3 he's put out. I think it's creative, it's new, it's fresh, it keeps you guessing. I went and saw this one in the theater. I didn't see the other 2 in the theater because obviously aliens. But it was really, really good. My daughter thoroughly enjoyed it the whole way. And
beautifully shot. He's doing the Tarantino way. In terms of, well, one, I think he's getting very confident as a filmmaker. He's taking a lot of patience with a lot of shots. You know what I mean? He's letting a scene play out, and he's pulling the camera back and letting the action play around the camera as opposed to trying to just quick cut everything, which takes a lot of confidence as a filmmaker. I think he's really doing that. And every movie is more beautifully shot than the previous one, which is what Tarantino did. Like Tarantino now, he shoots a movie and it's freaking glorious. But it wasn't like that when he started. He grew into a better filmmaker. Always a great writer, but he grew into an awesome filmmaker. And I see Jordan Peele going that way as well. Like, he's getting more and more confident with his vision. He's getting more and more confident with putting something spectacular on the screen. And, the guy's got original stories, and that's what everybody says they want. So it's original. It's exciting. I think, I don't think he's the best horror director of all time or anything. I think he's got a ways to go to earn that title. I still say it's John Carpenter or Wes Craven. One of those two. Gotta be. My money's on Craven, but most people would probably lean toward Carpenter. But I could see a few more of these, and he's in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, like, I saw Black Phone also this weekend,
Mhm.
And I could say there were a lot more horror jump scare moments in Black Phone than there were in Nope.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um,
This is just a really good commentary piece.
It is. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to think about. And there's a lot of stuff where people said that didn't make any sense. And I'm just like, that made a lot more sense than I think you'd think it. Like the Gordy thing, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to about this movie. And they almost universally said that wasn't even part of the, didn't make any sense in the movie. And I'm like, it's a huge part of the movie.
It's like the whole purpose for why he does what he does.
Yeah. It's really his fuel.
But can we talk about the one thing this movie does not address?
Sure.
The freaking shoe in the Gordy set.
Why is the shoe up?
Why is the shoe standing up?
Why is it such a focal point? I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. For the life of me. I tried and tried. I even tried to read some articles. I'm like, somebody's got this right. Nobody has the shoe. Do you think maybe it's because it stands up when a UFO is present and it's always been in his life? I don't know. I'm just trying to find connections now. I don't know with the shoe.
I'm like, was there a balloon that was tied to it, and was there something behind the shoe, and we just didn't see what was behind the shoe, and it was propped up?
And he kept it, right? Like he has it in his.
Yeah, he had the shoe in the museum.
What is with the shoe? Now that's the question. Everybody's going to ask Jordan Peele about the ending, and I'm like, no, ask about the shoe. That's the important part.
I stayed for the after scene credits, assuming that there was going to be something about the shoe in the after credits.
It's like a backstory. Here's a little backstory on why that shoe matters.
But apparently they're going to bring this apparently to Hollywood Horror Nights at Universal Studios. There's going to be an attraction.
That's what it said at the end. That's pretty exciting stuff. That's pretty exciting stuff. Anything more on Nope before we close it all out?
Now I'm thinking about the damn shoe again.
You missed an opportunity. You should have just said nope.
Nope.
Too late. Too late. You ruined it. Damn shoe. Shoe ruins everything. All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this episode. Come back next week. And remember, the next time you go to a theater, maybe to see Nope again and figure out why Gordy was so important and what the hell that shoe meant. Buy popcorn.
I mean, at least like tap the horse on the ass when he sends it out to get eaten with the shoe.
Shit.